every single thing. So thankfully, issues of flood can tell you. We'll take a break now. We want to discuss female sports and investment, right? Stay with us. We'll be right back. So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi. All right, thanks for staying with us. It is arguably that a greater proportion of Nigeria's sporting success is attributed to women. Both in terms of impact and sheer numbers, Nigerian women stack up immensely well against their male counterpart. In spite of this, there has been an almost systematic neglect of women in sports in Nigeria. The most obvious example, and this only because the most populous black nation in the world is obsessed with football, right? You know, is the Nigerian Super Falcons, and they are winning national football teams on the continent, yet they have not been acknowledged. They have represented Africa at every edition of the FIFA World Cup, Women's World Cup, since the inaugural tournament in 1991. With this amount of success, we are really, really curious to why women in sports who are obviously triumphing never get the attention, and how can we drive investment towards female sports in Nigeria. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So I was going to ask you, how well do you think women's sports are supported in this country?
I mean, I don't think it's been supported enough, because if you ask a lot of females, they don't even know if there's female sports that's actually really functioning in Nigeria. And the only time you get to hear about it is probably when we have to go for maybe the Olympics or the World Cup and all of that. And for me, I was very...
And we're always qualifying.
In fact, this one that we didn't even... The fact that we didn't even qualify for...
the Super Eagles.
For the female, did we qualify?
Yes, now.
Oh, we did? Okay, so, I mean, you see...
you don't even know. That's my problem.
That's what I'm saying, that we're not paying... I don't want to say I am not paying attention to it, but if it's actually as prominent in the news or it's being talked about as much, I would know, and a lot of other people would know, because, I mean, I don't think they're throwing a lot of light on female
That's
sport.
why we're here.
And in fact, when I saw the topic, I was like, I'm really happy to see this, because I mean, it may be to urge a lot of women in Nigeria to get involved in sports, because I know that, I mean, aside from the recognition and maybe some other benefits, it's actually really good for women to get involved in a couple of things that men are doing. So please,
let me bring in Lucy first before I ask.
Okay. Don't worry, I would love our guests to discuss.
See your life.
But
you know
this thing that one is doing.
But no, let me expose both of you. This is the reason I decided to choose this topic, and I put 2 of you inside this time, because the truth is that a lot of times we really do not even care.
No, it's not about we do not care. The key thing is that it's just like politics. When you want to listen to what is going on in the news with women, what you hear most of the time is the women who are in sports are not well taken care of.
No,
so
wait,
it's all about the
negatives.
negatives. It's all about the negatives.
So it's not even so much of negative for me.
Yes.
It's the fact that as women, right, you can imagine the shock that I felt that we have not lost any qualification of since 1991. I said,
Imagine that.
Is it not the thing that we're supposed? So why are we not putting our money where the people are winning? So we're busy going to go and destroy stadium because somebody did not qualify. Right? It doesn't make any sense. So we need to ask our guests. Well, that's the first question we're asking. Bukola Olopade is a friend of the house. He's the CEO of NIL Sports Management Limited, a sports management and marketing company who has worked with some of the biggest names in the world of sports, like the IAAF, the CAA, and the AFN. He has also served in various leadership capacity as president of the Nigerian Wheelchair Basketball Federation, Ogun State Commissioner for Youth and Sports, and special advisor to Ogun State Governor on youth and sports. And he's joined us live in studio. Hey, Bukola. I'm super excited to be having you today.
You like to go down memory lane.
Yes.
Advisor.
Yes, no.
No.
We have to keep on reminding them why you are the Don in this game. But thank you so much because you always make our time to discuss with us.
And it is always a pleasure to come on this table.
Oh, thank you.
You guys are amazing, always.
Thank you. Because, you know, this women in sports is quite interesting. You know why I called you for this conversation? Because, first of all, you take special interest in investing in women. As female athletes. I've seen it happen.
Thank you.
You know, so why are we not paying so much attention? Because give it to the women. Let's even pick, first of all, our football team, the Super Falcons. They are doing exceptionally well. And every time we're always hearing Super Eagles, Super Eagles, Super Eagles, Super Eagles. Super Falcons, they qualified. So what's the gap? Why is female sports not taken seriously as much as we take the male teams and all of those sports seriously in this country? What exactly is the challenge?
Thank you very much for this topic. And I think what the most typical example is what we've just seen on the table. Yeah. I've always emphasized the fact that girl power, feminism, women standing up for women lacks a lot of substance in this country. It is strange that a lot of women do not understand how much women have put into winning laurels for Nigeria. It is strange that you, my colleagues on this table today,
I mean, it's not something that we are proud of, but we are vulnerable enough to be honest about it.
And I respect.
Don't expose us too much.
And I respect that because in the Yoruba parlance, we Yorubas would say "Ile Latin Kesho Rodi," which simply means charity begins at home. The people who should drive the trust and love and support for women sports. I've been corrected not to call it female sports. Women's sports are the women. And we have a lot of powerful women in corporate Nigeria today who should come out and put their money where their mouth is. Unfortunately, you've hit the nail on the head. There's a reluctance to support women's sports. Just as there's a reluctance to support the biggest sporting winning tool Nigeria has ever seen, para sports.
The women.
No, para sports. So
the Paralympics.
I know we're here to discuss women, but I'm telling you that these two categories of
they
sport
suffer the same fate.
Yes, and yet they bring in the biggest laurels. Wrestling, you think of Olagunroye. Athletics, you think of Ese Brume, Tobi Amushon. Football, you think of Oshola. You think of success. I mean, they've won in Africa. The Falcons are the biggest winning machine in terms of laurels. They've won more Nations Cup than any country, male or female, ever put out there. Yes. And yet, as I just noted on one platform that I belong to, that it's time to stop crying over spilled milk. The Super Eagles painfully, my company lost millions of expected earnings for us not going to the World Cup. But immediately we changed our strategy, we changed our thought process to the women. To the women. And this was why when we signed the deal with Stanbic IBTC to support NFF and football, we were very glad that Bridget Oyefeso, the brand manager, and the MD, Dr. Shogune, specially created a clause in the agreement for women sports journalists, because that is also an area that is suffering. And we must continue to look at bespoke investment of that nature to support women. I can go on and on. Do you know the under-17s? I've also qualified for India, or almost qualifying. Do you know the Falconets? I've also qualified for the World Cup. And the Falcons have qualified for the Nations Cup in Morocco, which will take them, I'm very sure, because 4 teams will be qualifying. Hello, I'm very sure the Falcons will be among the 4 that will go to New Zealand. And yet, and I'm not just talking about football alone, across the spectrum of sports, and yet, people are reluctant to invest in women's sports.
Whose role is it to invest in women's sports?
Every one of us, it's exactly what you're doing, and I applaud what you're doing. Call private organizations. Because government, listen, I don't care what you say about government. Government puts equal money, equal spend for both male and female sports. That is why we get to hear about the successes that have been achieved. But the chunk of the money that has gone into women's sports has come from government. Government cannot do it alone. Ironically, I did not see the topic of this discussion today, but I had spent the whole of today visiting MDs of banks, of gaming companies, of some lifestyle companies, only because of the Nigerian women football and the Nigerian women league. And I sent you...
Yes, I was just going to ask you, what's the deal with 35 million deal that for Edo Queens? What's that about?
So I want to especially thank Engineer Adeleke, because a few months ago I called on Engineer Adeleke and I said, look, listen, we need to support the girl child. You spend too much money looking after sports here and there. He's just built a 4 billion naira sports complex in Osun State. Guess the people that are utilizing it, Osun Babes. I said, so if you're putting so much into women's sport locally, I need you to come and support the league. And the discussion was just for 10 minutes. And within 10 minutes, he committed 50 million to the women league. That is why the women league is working today, because of Engineer Adeleke and Peculiar. And to my greatest pleasant surprise, as I was driving to your studios,
that was when they just signed
I saw the breaking news
deal.
Today. The very hardworking deputy governor of Edo State, oh, by the way, your
My
state,
state, yes.
who also has done so much for women football and women's sports, decided to pay him a visit in Osun State and secure a sponsorship deal for the Edo Queens, a team that is also doing very well. And for me,
So
today
Edo
is
Queen
just
is a football.
one of the most successful in Nigeria.
Wow.
I mean, you need to look at states like Rivers State. You need to look at Delta State and look at what Tony Okowa is doing with women's sports. And that's why I said government keep piling a lot of money. Honorable Sunday Dari has done a lot for female sports, especially when you look at what the support is giving to wrestling, because of the women who are thriving there. Weightlifting, women are doing great things there. And that is why government will continue to play a role. But we need private organized companies to come and support women's sports, especially when you look at the amount of women who are in charge of sponsorship and brand management in various companies.
And usually, ironically, most of them are actually women.
90%. I mean, this is the industry that I work in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, 90% are women. And when you discuss women sports and para sports with them, they'll be like, what is the return on investment? And this is why the gentleman I spoke with today from one of the gaming companies was very, I mean, it won my heart, because is that we'll do CSR for para sports and we'll do
Proper investment
for women football, because of the quantum achievement that they've brought to the
you
table.
see, okay, so how do we correct this narrative? Because yes, the women are successful, right, in this, especially with the football. Again, yes, I remember the Olympics one. A lot of women actually brought back, good medals.
Medals.
Well, how can we change this narrative? How can we put the women at the forefront, do you think the patriarchal society that we belong to, do you think it has any effect on why this recognition is not even happening? Because we're doing exceptionally well. It's a no-brainer for you to invest your money. I mean, America, right? I think it was the US. The captain, she had been fighting, the football captain, she had been fighting for a long time for equal pay. And I think America just signed that deal, correct me if I'm wrong, where they would match their pay exactly. Because they are also doing exceptionally well. So just it's not even a Nigerian thing. They are also, yes, it's a global thing. Yeah. They are doing exceptionally well, but they are not given the same recognition as the male football team that don't come back home with nothing, but they come back home with something.
Always.
Yes, all the time. So how can we correct that narrative?
Again, because I do not want us to mix issues. In Nigeria, there is a lack of enthusiasm for the support of women's sports. We almost come to the table and say enough is enough. Yeah. Women, for many years, women have come back home with the laurels that has eluded Nigeria at the Olympics, Commonwealth Games. And we can go on and on where Chioma Ajua is literally the only single gold medalist we've had in the Olympics, a woman.
Miriam Yali.
I was in Belgrade a few weeks ago. I was in the stadium when Ese Brumen literally sparked up the stadium with a jump, and everybody screamed, "Oh wow, where is this woman coming from?"
She's Nigerian.
We actually we were ahead of Great Britain and Canada and so many big countries just because of that one silver medal at the World Indoor Championships just a couple of weeks ago. How many people can even remember Ese Brumen achieved that feat? Because if we do, then we'll be anxious to want to put our money there. We'll be anxious to want to make Ese Brumen an ambassador of lifestyle industries, oil and gas, where she can talk about supporting the girl child, where she can talk about supporting the power of women, which we all must come to the table and not just pay lip service to, but ensure that things are happening.
We know what you need to take a break. There's a part you talk. You say brand ambassador. We'll come back to that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to One on One. My guest today is referred to as the chief plumber. His name is Ope Adeoye.
Like every child, you want to be this, then you want to be that, then you want to be that. But there was one thing that, after a while, I was like, I think I would like to be an inventor. I've always planned to start a company. I told my parents when I was leaving school that I don't want to work for anybody. My mom convinced me that no, you need to start from somewhere. This thing, you don't just jump into it. So they start from somewhere, ended up becoming like 13 years of paid employment. The biggest lesson is that there are no failures, that there's only learning for you. Like one of the things I took away from the Toy Labs experience was that I find that younger, hungry, driven people are an asset for you.
You've talked about getting the right stuff, but how do you now keep this good talent that you have for your business?
If I tell you I know the answer, I am lying. Because if I know the answer, I shouldn't be running one pipe. I should be running some kind of talent thing.
All right, so if you just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Bukola Lokpade on driving investments towards female, or we call it women's sports, right, in Nigeria. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us at WaysHowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow. All right, Isi, you were going to say something before we went on the break.
I was going to ask you what, you touched on something that had to do with brand ambassadorship, and I was going to ask you in terms of what are the ways that these individuals can actually step up to actually encourage the women in sports, because we do not have brand ambassadorship. They're not giving that cognizance.
Mentorship.
Be given.
Look, listen. In the final analysis, influencers have become a very important aspect of our day-to-day living, but they've always been. Mentorship has helped so many society to equip the younger ones for tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, I was just speaking to a gentleman this morning about how I needed him to mentor my daughters, who are 26 and 25, on how to understand the economy, how the economy of Nigeria works, so that because they want to come to Nigeria and invest and do things, and I'm saying you cannot do it without understanding, so you need to be mentored. Yes. And that is the same thing we can achieve by creating ambassadorial recognition and status for these women who are doing so well. I mean, not just women, including men. I mean, my own heart goes to the para-athletics. The para people, every year, every major competition, every major event, they come tops. I can tell you for free that only a few organizations have put their money to support them. I was the president of the Wheelchair Basketball Federation, where for many years we were able to raise a lot of money through my friend, Victor Oche, who just literally brought all his friends to fund that sport. But without moving away from the core discussion today, which is women, I just feel, and I get really emotional when I discuss this aspect of sports. Yeah. I just feel there is a reluctance to accept that this most success that we've achieved are coming from these two cadre of sports people. Because how else would people be crying?
So there's a reluctance, there's a resistance. Why is there that resistance? So you touched on ambassadorial stuff, and I was going to ask you that, because again, even a lot of people have come under fire. I will not bring your own fire, but a lot of people have come under fire that you guys would prefer to pick up music artists. You will pick up music artists and make them your brand ambassador for a sporting event, right? You pick up what's it called, actors, actresses. You pick up the reality TV shows, but the real core people that are the sports people that you're supposed to make the face of the probably your events and all of that, we don't have that. So how else do you want to now encourage? Because you feel like maybe their brand is not big enough. You know, you cannot take away the fact that there's brand capital in when you want to pick up those ambassadorial positions. Yeah. But you are the one, as the management, that is supposed to build that brand capital. You literally, I see that there's a lot of laziness when it comes to that, because that is a big way to like pivot the what's it called, this lack of recognition that we are complaining about, right? If we start to pick the right people and make them brand ambassadors, you understand, it changes the whole narrative. It just takes them from here to here. People now begin to, you know, they're not curious to understand, okay, why is this person worthy of this? But you see, a lot of people are in charge of all those brand recognition and brand ambassadorial positions and all of that, or crowning, or whatever you want to call the thing. They are very lazy. They'll rather pick someone that probably has, you know, a very big brand and all of that. They're not ready to work with some of these athletes from scratch, even though that the athletes are doing well. Ese Brume is one of you. I mean, you've been calling Ese Brume. She came back to Nigeria, you know, went on I think a church to take the medal because she felt like, you know, she had prayed for it and all. I mean, this girl brought back a gold medal.
Silver.
Or was it a silver medal? Silver. Okay, she brought back a medal. Let's just
no, you're very important medal.
Yeah. So tell me, why has any probably energy company or whatever, why have they not picked her up as a brand ambassador? Or rather pick somebody that stayed 90 days in a house.
It is the same,
so why?
It is the same reason why Waze and Plus TV have not called her for an interview to showcase what she's achieved.
So you had to.
You have to do
it. I remember that was what I started with. You, for example, I remember calling you one day when different women were calling me, have you seen what your friend posted? That means you're an influencer. You have a voice. You need to start talking about these women. Many of you women are doing great stuff with your own private pages on Instagram and Twitter. And let's all collectively talk about those women. Why are we still screaming about a World Cup that we are not going to? When we have women who are preparing July, just around the corner, qualified. So, all three categories, 17s, 20s, and the seniors. I mean, I'm sorry, again, from a success achieved by this same NFF, with a woman, again from your state, Aisha Falode, under the leadership of Amaju Pinnick. You can condemn Amaju Pinnick from now to tomorrow. That is your problem. But he has achieved a lot placing emphasis and importance to women. Hence, he organized the Aisha Buhari Women Football Tournament to put in the right position the place of women and the successes they keep bringing to the table. And I don't care how people discuss it. I don't care if I'm going to get a backlash for saying this. We have 3 teams qualified. I can't be crying about the Super Eagles not going to the World Cup. I'm pained. I was pained, but I've moved on. I want to do business with women. I want to do business with the women of football. I want to bring money.
Okay, let me throw it back. Wait, now he's throwing back. Let me throw it back at you.
No, I mean, I agree with you that we're all guilty.
Wait,
Everybody will take a picture of the
But I am not.
Because I was
let me ask you a question.
Had
Sorry, Isi, had the men not qualified, would you have had time to say you want to now? Because it's almost like the women
first,
say, yes,
the men were the first people.
The men are always your first point of call. The women were now a second thought, like an afterthought.
When was the match against Ghana played?
About 2 weeks ago.
March. Nilayo signed the deal to support women football in December with Peculiar. Nilayo took women football to 5 different banks. Nilayo did over 15 presentations to organizations just for women. Aisha Falode will be the first to say that Nilayo is a pro-women company. So I can never be guilty. And when I was commissioner for youth and sport in Ogun State, all my captains at the Ogun State teams were all women, always, because they lead well, they run things well, they made life easier. And when you come to Nilayo Sports Management Media, you were part of it. You know women have always taken the lead, not because of anything, but because they bring value to the table. They bring value. I mean, I'm not trying to patronize. I'm being real now. They bring value to the table, and it is high time we started supporting women's sports.
So
In terms of women,
quickly
okay,
find
go
out,
ahead.
like, I mean, we're talking about the government or the the individuals are basically supporting. How much energy are you actually putting to maybe like carry the media alongside with your activities? Because I mean, I know that right now the media is like the strongest means of tool at the moment, and the way we talk about these people inviting actors and musicians to attend their events, I'm sure the reason why they're doing that is because they are trying to get the fans of those people.
Yeah.
They're trying to get publicity. So I'm saying that as you're doing this hard work, as you're moving from one step to the other, if the media is actually following you back to back, we would all be informed, we would all be invested. Because I know that as much as people say women don't really support, as much as you put it in our faces, we are definitely going to like build or push that movement. So I feel like the media should get as involved as you are, so that every step of the way, as you're achieving your next hurdle, okay, in December this happened, but people didn't really hear about it. People didn't hear about it.
We got a lot of accolades from other media houses. I'm surprised. I'm sure your sports desk spoke about it. I'm very sure of that. But let me even shock you again. You know Sheyi Johnson, former CEO of Nilayo, project manager, who has now branched out to own his own sports management company, Brussels. The first project he undertook, Ogun Women Race, and is calling for cancer awareness. He's calling for violence against women awareness for his bespoke race. That means the mentorship I gave to him at Nilayo is again reflecting on women, the power of women in sports, and how we must use sports to empower women. So I feel morally, I have a right to scream out to every one of us to come out and support women's sports and women in sports. You underestimate how much good you're doing to society with what you put into play for women. Because in the final analysis, you guys are the controllers of nations and you're the controllers of homes. And until we start to empower you correctly and rightfully, we just continue to complain about our country, about our ways. I have a strong feeling that when the woman is given the chance to excel, Nigeria will be a better country.
I like the fact that you said women should be empowered. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms
and women should empower women.
And women should empower women. However, I need us to throw light on scouting. how do you scout women? How do you pay more attention to women who are interested in going to the field of sports? Because back in the days, or I don't know how they do it now, but the bottom line is what they used to do is they take the men out, they get them to
I'm happy you said back in the days.
to play with the to play in a game.
I'm
or
gonna
play
say
a
you,
game.
you're still and cooking mom.
Yes, but the guys do this and they give them more attention when they're doing what they're doing, or playing football or doing whatever they're doing, so that scouters can actually see them and use them to make more money or sell them to a club.
No,
So how do you introduce women to sports using scouters?
By giving the girl child the freedom to go out and excel in a God-given skill and talent.
That has not answered the question. How do you lead them to get it?
It starts from the home. When you notice that your girl possesses a talent, allow her to go out and practice and get involved in competitions, and that child will be scouted. It is the same thing. It is the same system that is being used to scout boys, that is being used to scout. Aziz Oshola he plays in Barcelona. Let me shock you. Something strange happened 3 or 4 days ago. The El Clasico for women, Barcelona versus Real Madrid, was played in front of 91,535 fans. World record. So if you're watching me as a business person and you're not putting your money in women's sports, especially women's football, you are missing out in the money, the future money that is coming into the space. Watch out. The women game is going to shoot up, and those of us who are already in it will make more money when you are scrambling to come and join us.
So, I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation because it's really making me think deeper and, just wondering how best we can, make this as loud and as big as we should. I know that, in other countries like the US and the UK, secondary, high school students are being, nudged to be good at their grades so that by the time they're going to university, they get scholarships and all of that.
We don't have that.
We don't have that. So if it's possible for us to actually develop some type of system in the sense that these kids that are athletes that really, really want to, go into sports, people should actually, come to the secondary school. Like, let's start building the culture.
I agree with you.
I mean, because it's something that these kids work hard because they know that, okay, we want scholarship. We want to go to good universities. We want to be able to get free tuition.
So there's an end game.
Do you understand? Because it's what everybody's looking out for. And most of these guys, they work so hard. They're training back to back to ensure that they qualify. And I think when they do all those school sports, like maybe inter-house sports or, some games between one school and the other, they always have scouters that come to those locations to ensure that, okay, from the young age, these guys are being... We have to do more.
Thank you for that brilliant analogy, because again, scouting starts from where they are playing and practicing school sports. For example, and I challenge you, S.A. Brume and Co. were scouted from schools. I was there. First time S.A. Brume jumped in Asaba, I was there as a schoolgirl. And you can go on and on. You discover that all the talent, male or female, were discovered from school sports. But remember the last time I was on this desk, we had a brilliant discussion on how the scholarship system must be introduced so that indigent, 80% of the people who play sports, I don't care what the sport is, are indigent boys and girls. And a lot of them are also academically gifted. But unfortunately, we've not created a system that would also give them the opportunity to play sports and still excel in their academics. And I agree with you, that needs to be done. I'm a businessman. I'm no longer in the system of making policies. And if I find myself in the nearest future in a position to make policies, hopefully one day soon, then such a thing will be visited by someone like me. But I agree with you. We're talking and people are watching. That needs to be done.
It needs to.
So in wrapping up this conversation, as we drive conversations towards, we must commend the companies that have so far invested.
Stepped up.
I mean, it's a huge investment. I think Stanbic IBTC, right?
Absolutely.
Did to the female. I mean, this new one you just sent to me now, the peculiar
Engineering.
Yeah, engineering. So it's fantastic, right? So as we wrap up the conversation on investment, right, for women's sports, right? I'm just thinking in my head, how can we, because they're already successful, I mean, you said the Queens are doing well and all of that, how can we start to organize internal engagement with the women athletes? So even let's even leave out maybe qualifying for World Cups, Olympics and all of that. The way you have your grassroots, thank you, the way you have your what do they call them, the male team, canopilas and all of that, do we have those kinds of tournaments that we can start to push and say, you know what, so we can encourage, okay, the men are not watching, don't worry, we go and watch ourselves, you know, play. Can we start to encourage and foster that internal sports within states, within, you know, so that we have more, you know, awareness for this team and maybe more buying into promoting the woman brand?
And that actually is a fantastic point, because we do have competitions at elite sports for women. Now, your point is that, again, it goes to your topic. We need to put more money into organizing grassroots sports that are kind to women, that can make more girls, the girl child, be discovered as talented people.
Absolutely.
And I think there's an effort, again, from the part of government towards that. There's a huge effort going on towards that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, business is business. A lot of the organizations will tell you that, has she won the World Cup? Has she won this medal?
What has she done?
Until you win that thing, they don't want to be associated with you.
Even at that, the men, have they won?
And this was what I said.
But they're popular.
Well,
this was what I said to two of the potential investors in women's sports I spoke with today. I said, this is the time to own it. Grab it, put your money, now that it's obscured, so that when it becomes something that everybody starts talking about, you would have been the one who started it.
Tapped into it.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic investment. I see light at the end of the tunnel if we keep this conversation and this discussion going. Athletics globally is doing a lot for equality, encouragement of women, and this is simply because superstar athletes have always emanated from women, from the days of Flojo, athletics, Flojo and co, coming down to the ones we have today, women, Felix and co, and the Jamaican female runners. Athletics have always insisted that if a man is making $10,000 from 100 sprints, a woman is making $10,000. That is why in all our marathons, from the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon to all the races we've done in Nigeria by my company, we've insisted on equal pay. If a man wins $50,000,
we have to match it.
A woman is winning $50,000. That is investing in women and ensuring that more of them take their potential skills and talents more seriously, so that they can become breadwinners for their families and become very popular influencers in their societies.
And can make whatever sports they are relevant in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well,
okay, let's take a
okay, so I have a comment. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying Ways. Concerning women in sports, I think they are not well treated. Look at, for instance, one of the football national team went for a tournament, and instead of appreciating them well and honorably with cash gifts and properties, they were given a mere handshake, just a common handshake. This is not fair at all. Women needs more encouragement to do more. My name is Daniel Hilo, Ways regular fan. Thank you so much, Daniel, for this. I mean, this is really, really true, because I mean, I can imagine after going through, you know, your trainings and even winning something, and you're just giving me a handshake. Meanwhile, if it was probably in male sports, you would have, you know,
the men cheering for them.
Again,
it's beyond that.
Again, government should be given credit.
Yes, government has
They've
done
always
well.
been equality.
I mean, they've given them houses. Yes.
The Tigers.
Yes.
They were even more better compensated than the D Tigers, the male team.
Yeah, for the basketball, right?
Yeah. So I do not agree with that.
Okay, we just saw
the one I feel we need to emphasize is that more corporate bodies should please come on board and support women's sports.
Yes. If they are asking for ROI, I mean, the question I want to ask them, what's the ROI of investing in the man?
A lot.
You see your problem.
A lot, but I believe strongly that we can make more. We can even make more by investing in women. That's my belief. And you asked a good question. Am I doing this because the men have fallen up by the side on the water? No. We've always wanted to put women sports in the forefront because I see, and the brains at New Lion Sports Management would always tell you, we did a research. It was actually some gentlemen in the banking industry that commissioned us to do that research on football. When the sort of facts that we came across, the numbers we came across for women football was amazing.
Absolutely.
And like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. If you don't join the train now,
you're going to miss out.
You'll miss out.
So that's your ROI there. Thank you so much. We just got a breaking news. The former President Goodluck Jonathan has been involved in a fatal auto crash with 2 people killed. But I think there's no... Although the former president escaped the death, he's said to be now safe in his home in Abuja. Wow. 2 of his aides have died in the accident. This just happened. Returning from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Wow.
Wow, that's sad.
So we just pray
thank
that...
God he's okay though.
Yeah, but
the heart goes out to the people that
passed.
Family.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
That was an amazing conversation.
Yes, it was, and I'm really hoping that our audience, if there's anything you guys can actually do to support women.
Let's start to put our
money. I didn't taint your women in black with my white because I have a black heart.
Right. So before we go, do a show. Thank you, Isi. Thank you, Alera.
Thank you.
Before we go, ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. It's a very short quote. Very apt. Sport has no gender. From Anonymous, right? So we can actually do well in sports, all gender. See you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Also bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to 2 things. 1, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Events, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshuke.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, right? No question. He's a living legend.
God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
On World Health Day 2022, global attention is focused on urgent actions needed to keep humans and the planet healthy as Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 reviews Nigeria's response to the pandemic.
A facelift will be given to buildings like the Federal Secretariat Abuja and 24 others spread across the country as President Muhammadu Buhari issues executive order on maintenance of public buildings.
And we will review all of the bigger stories making the headlines across national dailies. Well, many thanks for joining us on the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonge.
And I am Messi Bopo. A beautiful morning to you, and it feels really great to be back on your screen.
All right, we'll head on straight to what is trending, and a whole lot is trending across Nigeria, across Africa, and across the world. But let us start with what's happening in Burkina Faso. Do you remember the Pan-Africanist Thomas Sankara? Well, his murder, there was a judgment yesterday, and the former president who was involved in the murder of Thomas Sankara in the 1987 coup, well, he got life imprisonment with other two people who conspired in that particular coup, although the former president was tried in absentia.
Well, that has gotten a lot of, it's a lot of celebration for Africans. You could actually look at that in the microblogging platform talking about Twitter, and you see the celebration as Africans are really, really happy, most especially for those who are in Burkina Faso. Don't forget that he's also responsible for Burkina Faso, where he changed it, honest people. And the reason why he's been seen as a hero and a lot of people are celebrating.
All right, Messi, I understand we have to take a break. It's still the breakfast. We'll be right back after this quick timeout. Stay with us.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
All right, welcome back. It's still the breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. Indeed, we had to take that break. We just had to settle some little hitch there so we can actually serve you better. Before we went on the break, we were talking about Thomas Sankara, and you were talking about how he is a Pan-Africanist and how he was really celebrated in Burkina Faso. Merci.
Not necessarily Burkina Faso, but the fact that, he was... some people call him the Marxist revolutionary, known by a lot of Africans because he campaigned against corruption and, oversaw huge increase in education and health spending at the time. So you remember, but it feels like it's a pattern. Blaise Compaoré and Thomas Sankara were close friends
at
the time. You remember where they actually had, the joint coup where they took over in 1983. But it feels like it's a pattern, in the military. If you look at some in Africa especially, you find out those who plotted coups and what has happened over time. There seems to be some sort of betrayal going along the way. But the most important, the moral for all of this is the fact that no matter how slow it takes, no matter how long it takes, justice is a big one. It's a big one for democracy. It's a big one that, justice and the truth, will never hide. The truth will always come true, no matter how long it is. And I saw several persons reacting from different African countries in Kenya, and some people are saying we're hoping that, we get to a point where justice is served for some of these persons who have actually committed crimes But this happened in his absentia. Let's not forget that he took what's it called again? Asylum, and he's currently not available. I mean, he's moved since that protest in 2014. And what's the possibility? What's the possibility of having him do the sentence or the time that's been given? But however, it's a good thing to know that justice will always meet. But this justice did not just happen. It happened because the family, friends, and supporters were very consistent, and they constantly made an appeal. And so that's what we say, with the judicial system. Yes, it's okay for us to say the judicial system is not functional, but the judicial system cannot function on its own. It is only when you bring issues to it that it can constantly make the interpretation and give meaning to it, and then the problem might just be judgment and verdict. But like we mentioned earlier on, this verdict is a big one for Africa, it's a big one for democracy, and there's hope that justice will always prevail no matter how long it takes.
Like they always say, or like the saying goes, justice delayed is not justice denied. The trial actually took about 6 months, but eventually, there was a judgment just yesterday, and we just hope the family would have some sort of, closure. I know it's not really easy, to find peace or to get that particular closure after your loved ones, have been killed. But somehow, justice is seemingly served or seem to have been served in Burkina Faso with the handing of that particular judgment, life imprisonment to the 3 people who were involved in the murder of Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. Well, let's move on to another story also making the round. It happened yesterday at the SDP party secretariat, and there was an attack, Mercy, by thugs.
Well, so it has become part of our culture that from time to time you find out that there's a lot of crime and criminality. It brings us to one thing: we need to ensure that lives and properties are protected. We need to take the issue of security, very important. But why would anyone want to attack a party secretariat? What is it? Could this be, a sponsored issue? It's one and the same thing, with security and the fact that we need to pay attention. A primary responsibility of every government is to ensure that lives and property are protected. It's a fundamental, it's just a basic. But that hasn't really been, a priority for our government. I mean, state and federal government. I mean, I stand to be corrected on this one. So yes, the ideology, whether or not this is actually premeditated, it could be, because usually if you have a party secretariat being attacked, some people would say it would be the work of an opposition, right? So whether opposition or no opposition, it brings us to one thing: we need to ensure that security is top notch. And for us, who are those? Well, we want to also believe that it's not something that should be swept under the carpet. Naturally. That security, because as long as we are concerned in Nigeria, we have the Nigerian police force, who started with the responsibility of ensuring that the civil, this protection of lives and property, that's their primary responsibility internally. And so let them get to work and find out those behind that particular incident. Quite unfortunate, and they should be brought to book and justice should be meted.
Okay, we also heard that one of the party's chieftain, that's the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Shegoni, also escaped assassination. A whole lot has been said concerning that, but proper investigation has to be done, Mercy, like you have said. The lives and property of citizens, have to be guaranteed. They have to be protected. Now, so we're calling on the appropriate authorities to, let's get to the end of this and see what exactly happened. Let a thorough investigation be done concerning that attack by thugs at the secretariat or on the secretariat of the Social Democratic Party. Well, it is a sad one for the SDP. A whole lot are actually trending, but we'll not stay so much on that. Just before we go to off the press, just a quick mention. President Goodluck, former President Goodluck Jonathan, his convoy was attacked yesterday, and we heard that 2 people, were fatally.
Was his convoy attacked, or he had an accident?
He had an accident, sorry, and but let's not stay on that. But then the fact is that We thank God that he's still alive. But that's all we will take on Top Trending for this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go straight to Off the Press and review the front pages of major dailies across the country.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Hello and welcome to One on One. My guest today is referred to as the chief plumber. His name is Ope Adeoye.
Like every child, you want to be this, then you want to be that, then you want to be that. But there was one thing that, after a while, I think I would like to be an inventor. I've always planned to start a company. I told my parents when I was leaving school that I don't want to work for anybody. My mom convinced me that no, you need to start from somewhere. This thing, you don't just jump into it. So they start from somewhere, ended up becoming like 13 years of paid employment. The biggest lesson is that there are no failures, that there's only learning for you. Like one of the things I took away from the Toy Labs experience was that I find that younger, hungry, driven people are an asset for you.
You've talked about getting the right stuff, but how do you now keep this good talent that you have for your business?
If I tell you I know the answer, I am lying. Because if I know the answer, I shouldn't be running one pipe. I should be running some kind of talent thing.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Well, you're still on to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time for us to take you through the pages of a national dailies. We call it Off the Press. Ezekiel Nyaitok is on standby. He joins the conversation in no time, a public affairs analyst. Ezekiel Nyaitok, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be on with you.
Many thanks as well. Let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Looking at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. The bold caption reads, 2023 INEC estimate 90 million voters. That's boldly written on the Nigerian Tribune. 18 political parties to file candidates in 1,491 constituencies. About 1 million election officials to be used in 176,846 polling units. That's what you find there. These are riders underneath the caption. Again, federal government promises victory against bandits. Federal Executive Council okays 12 new universities, 36.1 billion naira road contract. Jonathan's convoy in auto crash and 2 police aides killed. Saraki-led Reconciliation Committee submits report and warns the PDP against bias and conduct of primaries. You also find judiciary must remain independent. Afe Babalola is quoted on that. And Awolowo's Foundation 30th anniversary seminar holds April the 11th. NURTW sacks MC Oluomo, dissolves Lagos State Council. And COVID-19, federal government lifts midnight curfew and large gathering restriction others. NDLAE arrests drug cartel queen in Taraba. And you also find this other one saying, Kaduna train attack, kidnap BOAMD regains freedom. I mean, there's this video that's making the rounds on the internet. That's the much we can take this morning on the Nigerian Tribune.
Away from the Nigerian Tribune, we move on next to the Leadership newspaper. A lead story this morning, amid backlash of a PDP open ticket, Northern presidential aspirants lobby Southern governors. With several writers, the party NEC has final say. Otom insists PDP can't zone ticket after selling forms to all. Okowa, we will work as a team. Wike tells Tambuwal, Mohammed and Saraki. Let the best emerge, says Obi. Kachiku declares for ADC presidential ticket. Other stories on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. We're not overwhelmed by security challenges that's attributed to the federal government. Train attack bandit free Agric Bank MD. All right, more stories on the Leadership. World Health Day, diesel electricity crisis hamper hospital services. And Sankara murder, ex-Burkinabe leader Compaore gets life jail. Those are all the stories you can find on the front page of the Leadership newspaper.
Let's take a quick look at the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. APC leaders warn Buhari against consensus candidacy. No aspirant should be imposed on contestants. Saga is quoted on that. That's a idea on the bold caption this morning talking about the presidential primaries for the APC. Court orders 35% public office reserved for women. Buhari makes maintenance of public building mandatory and signs Executive Order 11. Despite ASU strike, federal government okays establishment of 12 new universities. Minister says federal government not overwhelmed by insecurity. And just before we move away really from the Daily Independent, you find more interesting headlines on this year. Another one says federal government rolls out soft interest free loan program in 36 states. Federal government now spends 98% of her revenue on debt servicing, Peter Obi is quoted. And Senate seeks end to maltreatment of Nigerians traveling to Ghana. CBN penalizes bank for flouting cryptocurrency directives. And again, COVID-19, federal government lifts midnight curfew and crowd restrictions. These are the headlines on the Daily Independent.
All right, away from that to the Nation newspaper. The lead story for this morning, 2023 presidential ticket, PDP to jettison zoning, that's on the Nation newspaper. Above the masthead, IG fires 9 policemen over planned strike. NIN SIM linkage, angry subscribers besiege enrollment centers. Let's just lie to the Punch newspaper. A PDP panel dumps zoning, fears North's voting strength. That's the lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning. Reps meet service chiefs. CDS seeks support against terrorists. Unemployment looms as truckers lament 50% drop in charges. Ogun Church scatters as preacher dies during sermon. All right, we have to bring in our guest right now, Mercy.
Ezekiel Yaitoke, it's good to have you join us this morning. Ezekiel Yaitoke, can you hear us? Good morning, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me, like I said.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. It talks about the 2023 elections and the fact that the umpire, INEC, estimates 90 million voters. Does this sound like a plus for us in the general elections?
In a sense, yes. But when you look at our youthful population, and you look at what they do on the internet, which tells you the number of them that have that are enlightened enough to be involved with the internet, particularly the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram. It means that that is even less than the number of youths that qualify to vote. So when you put the adults as well, then we should be getting something in the neighborhood of probably 120, 150 million. But I believe that with the improvement in our electoral systems, there will be a lot more confidence of people, particularly the young people, to come into the process. But I think it's progress, no matter how you look at it. I believe it's progress of some sort.
All right, on the leadership newspaper, let's take the main story. Northern presidential aspirants lobby Southern governors. That's coming amid the backlash over PDP open ticket. Mr. Nyaito, can you get your comment concerning
I've been a national chairman of a party. And there's something in party practice which has to do with funding of parties. Parties, INEC has to make a certain policy. I've written this to them before, and I'll keep writing and I keep saying. You need to come to bring something ingenious that will make members of the party to pay membership dues. Because funding of parties is a major, major concern of parties when you talk in terms of internal democracy and the decisions that they take. By the time that you don't fund parties and parties are to fund themselves, one of the greatest sources of revenue to the parties is selling of forms. And they know that they want to take APC, for instance. APC rakes in billions from sales of forms. When you talk in terms of saying a presidential ticket goes for 40 million, and then you have about 10 people, that's 400 million. But that's nothing compared with that of the governors. I'll tell you, for instance, in 2007, when I contested the governorship of Akwa Ibom, 21 of us bought forms, 21 in Akwa Ibom State alone. 28, but 21 of us were screened and allowed to participate. So if you think Akwa Ibom alone has 28 aspirants, now reduce that number by half or thereabout and take 15 as a mid and multiply 15 by 30. You're talking in terms of some in the neighborhood of 450. Multiply that by 10 to 15 million. That tells you the billions they're raking. They don't care that they are going to have a consensus and get one person to. What they do is they allow these 10, 15, 20 people to buy forms. They allow these people to go around and campaign and start to feel they can win, you know. And then the dying minute, you tell them to step down. There was a video that was shown to me on the APC convention where a certain youth leader, you know, one of the aspirants or contenders for the position of the national youth leader was asked to step down. He came and stepped down, but in tears. You could see the pain, you could see the frustration. This young man had worked hard enough to see his chances, and just the dying minute, you tell him to step down for another person. You know, it's fraudulent. It's fraudulent because parties want to make money at the pain, at the expense, at the emotions and the sentiment of the people. I think INEC should actually look at this matter again. Parties should start early enough to have their criteria and guidelines. We are zoning it to A or to B or to this zone so that aspirants from other zones who really feel they can win this election, they are at liberty to leave the party and go somewhere else. And if you're a good party member and you respect the zoning formula, you drop your ambition and think of something else. But when you throw it open and make all the money, and then you work on the emotions and the sentiments of the people, and at the dying minute, you know what you had wanted to do from the beginning, and you do it. I think it is injustice, and it's unfair. Parties should look at this question of consensus at dying minute again.
All right, Ezekiel Yaituk, let's look at the rider of the Nigerian Tribune that talks about INEC and the estimated number of voters that we're looking at this point in time. Also, we're also looking at a case where 18 political parties would be putting out their candidates ahead of the 2023 elections. I mean, looking at the presidential elections as well. Do you think that this is healthy? Because we know how this pans out at the end of the day, if you look at the records. Don't you think that it's time that we tell ourselves the truth? Let's stay with the two-party system.
I'm afraid that's not the truth. That's far from the truth. Having 18 parties on the ballot is not unwieldy. I always give a very little illustration. There was this guy in Anambra State. He went for primaries for Senate, and his party refused to give him the ticket. And the guy said, look, Ifeanyi Uba, let me be specific. The guy said, I am loved by the people and I will win this election. They said, to hell with you. And they kicked him out. He left at that point in time, imagine 0 hour, and went to YPP. And what happened? He won the election. Now, if there were two parties, what would have been the fate of Andy Uba? So the media's concentration on two parties is even unhealthy. Because these two parties have become merchants. And we know who they are. And you say Nigerians should stick with them? No. Let people look at what is happening in ADC today. Nigerians are going to be in for a pleasant shock. Look at the people coming in. These are people that will not, you need to listen to them. We need to drop this mentality of party and start to concentrate on persons. Let's do an analysis of the people. APC is not governing, is not presiding over Nigeria today. APC is not. One man, Mr. Buhari is. In my state, PDP is not in charge of Akwa Ibom. One man, Mr. Udom Emmanuel is. So at the end of the day, this our preoccupation with party is wrong. We're not thinking. We should look at the people that want to be. Forget the parties. Forget this PDP, APC, PDP, APC. You kind of run into the psyche of Nigerians that any third person is waste of time, is waste of time, is waste. That is the narrative of the politicians, and the media should not buy into it. If Ifeanyi Uba did not have an alternative, he will not be a senator today. He is a senator today because he had an option. There are people who are vibrant. Look at what is in one of the papers today. I read what Mr. Kachiku put up as his opening argument, I just wondered if any of the other aspirants on the two parties, all of them, if there's one person that has given us such sound bite, he said, well, talk. You can't do what you cannot talk. You may not be able to do what you talk, but you cannot do what you cannot talk. Tell us the talk first so that we can hold you responsible. Talk is no longer cheap. Word is the most important thing. That's why the Bible says a man is ensnared by the words of his mouth. God said it. Words are important. Let's hear your sound bite. I want to see these people debate. You know, in Akwa Ibom on the 18th or 17th of this month, a group of people have asked, you know, those who are interested to come on to debate. You'll be shocked that the so-called big boys are afraid to come out. I will be on the podium by the grace of God. Let Akwa Ibom see who is who. Right now, the social media is a podium for all Nigerians who want to be president. Let them engage us. Give us your opening argument. Give us your game plans. Give us your vision, not the one they write. You see, by the time you engage with people, you will know the ones that were written for them and they just read out, and the ones that come with them. Cross-examine them, drill them. Let us do the profiling of the next CEO of Nigeria. Please don't tell me about these big parties again. So I don't agree with you at all that let us tell ourselves the truth. It comes to two parties. God forbid.
All right, let's go to the Daily Independent newspaper. There are several stories, but let's take the first one. You know what happened not so long ago at the National Assembly when some gender-based, bills, were rejected. But there is an update right now. Court orders 35% public offices reserved for women. How do you react to that, Mr. Nyaeta?
I completely, there's a group called He for She, by AULO, African Women in Leadership Organization, and in that group, which is like advocating the rights of women, supporting the women, there is a subgroup called He for She, which is men who support the cause of women, and I'm a very active participant on that platform for two reasons. Maybe mine is an exception. I had a mother that was the best mother anybody could have, extremely enterprising, extremely focused, and she largely made me who I am today, being able to know what to do and when to do and how to do. That was a woman that stopped school in primary 3, and yet she became an Amazon. I have a wife that is just, most of the things I say on television, let me tell you something, there's a back room. She's watching this, and when I'm through, she's going to just sit down and analyze everything I said and tell me why this was not it. That's what helps me to improve. If you have such a wife, guy, you cannot but be good, I'm telling you. And then my daughter, awesome. Amen. She's just something else, blessed. So maybe I'm blessed to have women around me who have helped me to be who I am today. And even in my office, I've seen that women are the most trusted, the most committed, the most reliable, the most resourceful. So if we have a country that is going down, I think that the best favor we can do ourselves is to bring as many women as possible into the field. If I had my way, I'll say 40%. So if they say 35%, Nigerians will only be doing ourselves. Women have this moral conscience. Even if they want to steal, they know when to, oh boy, this is too much. There's something I want to do at home. My wife said, you can't now. I'm saying, look, this boy. She said, no, he can't. Politics or no politics, you're a human being. This is unfair. You can't do it. And grudgingly, I will yield to her. But on the long run, I'll discover that it's something that I would wish others do unto me. So why do I want to do to others what I would not want others do unto me? Women that have that moral compass, and we need them. So I completely agree that 35% is like the starting line. God makes it possible for me to become a governor. You will see what a successful administration that women can help to run. That I can tell you for free.
So the 35% affirmative action, I mean, my question would be, do we need, the courts to give an order for that to be, respected. Let's not forget that we're part of the United Nations. We signed several treaties. We're part of that, treaty. And so the 35% affirmation action policy, that was demanded, and for countries who are part of, the UN, and all of this would be part of this agreement. And so if we have not implemented the 35% affirmative action that we had, it's like you and I are in some sort of agreement, do we now need, a court order to help us implement it? We have not been very cool. If you look at it, we haven't fared very well with obeying court orders and, living by, the rule of law in this country. So I'm wondering what's going to be different now.
What's going to be different is that you look for every possible way to kill the rat. The law has come, the rat has refused to die. Appeals have come, the rat has refused to die. Let's try the court. If the rat refuses to die, we'll try something else. So I think instead of just sitting down and moaning, it's a good step. And maybe the court action will highlight this some more and bring to the fore the realities and the facts. For instance, because of that court action, it's now a bold headline. Because it's a bold headline, there's a media conversation about it. Because there's a media conversation about it, there is an awakened interest in it. And then there are one or two people who are going to say, oh, we didn't know, we didn't think, okay, let's do it. So I think that any means that we can adopt to be able to
kill the rat,
push this through, we should not leave any stone unturned.
All right, so quickly, we look at the Daily Independent newspaper. It talks about, despite ASU strike, federal government okays establishment of 12 new universities. So ASU is fuming that, the federal government has given approval, a license for establishment of 12 private universities in Nigeria. But some people will think that this is actually a good one because we seem to have, a number of students out there that cannot be accommodated, in the conventional universities, even though some of them, you have University of Technology, a little bit of conventional, if you may say, for the private university. But I'd like to share your thoughts on this. ASU seem to be very displeased.
Why? You see, the question of education in Nigeria is a combination of necessity and enterprise. We Nigerians need to come and ask ourselves and have a conversation. A lot of times we expect a dog to meow or a cat to bark. The fact that somebody has gotten into an office, we expect that he knows what to do and he should do the right thing, and what a fallacy. These guys went there not for what you expected them. It's not about service. It's not about governance. It's about an enterprise. They go there to make money. Unfortunately, because we did not think about it earlier, they are there. So since yesterday was the best time to plant a tree, the next best time is today. So to that extent, they are already in the office. What do? It is now up to us who are outside to see how we can. It's like there's a driver who is visually impaired. The best you can do is go close to that driver and say, oh, turn left. Okay, slow down. There's a bump. Just keep talking to that. Why can't we, as Nigerians, have a summit on education in Nigeria, which is one of the things that I would like us to do in Akwa Ibom, really have a month-long interaction, and come up with a sustainable plan of development on education for this state for the next 100 years. And it will be a non-partisan platform. It will not be Nyaitok said, but the people said. That animation of we the people. I could be a facilitator. You must bring APC, PDP, YPP, bring everybody on board, the academia, the intellectuals, bring everybody to brainstorm and map out a plan for the state. We really don't have an education policy that has the buy-in of Nigerians. The president stands up, appoints people, a few people, they sit down and come up. And as far as we are concerned, we're deterred. That's their thing. When they leave, the next government come and do their thing. We always do our thing. But if we have a president who is cerebral enough to understand the dynamics of policies that are sustainable, they will do it with the animation of we the people. One of the reasons that Calabar is sustained under the concept of tourism is because when Donald Duke was there, he made tourism not to be his program, but to become the program of the people of Cross River State. And that is wisdom in policies. Don't let it revolve too much around it because you want to get the credit and the glory. It will just fade with you. If you want something sustainable, take the approach that will animate that we the people. Once that is done, the program becomes owned by the people, and because the people have it, nobody can jettison it just like that.
All right, let's stay with the Daily Independent. The other interesting stories there. The former Anambra State governor is in the news again. That's Peter Obi. This time around, he's talking about the nation's economy. Specifically, he says federal government now spends 98% of her revenue on debt servicing. Where are we headed, Mr. Nyaeto? What does this portend for the nation's economy?
You see, I continue to regret that I have a relationship with Mr. Peter Obi, and for me, he's one of my models in governance. He is. Now, I don't know how I allowed him, let me take personal responsibility, to go and declare for presidency under PDP. I'm still praying about it. That's the sort of person that I would like to promote. Because he thinks and he knows what to do. I'm just lucky that we have other people in ADC, like Kachiku that came out. Please, I pray, let's all go and read his opening arguments. These are the people that should, even in ADC, when we win by the grace of God, a man like Peter Obi has to be brought into the cabinet to work with us. He's focused, he knows what he's doing. And I don't want to,
sounds like you're already predicting what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to win. Nigerians cannot, I will say this with every inch of my blood. Nigeria cannot go APC, PDP. They can't. No right-thinking person. That's why I literally attacked you this morning. We need to wake up. No right-thinking. APC, PDP are not agents of governance. They are instruments. They are SPVs for state capture. That's why we become the poverty capital of the world. Look at their leadership recruitment. Look at what is going on. They're not giving you the best person. They're giving you their person. And you think 4 years, 8 years down that line, Nigeria will no longer exist. We can't, we will not. No matter what it takes, there are men and women of conscience that are starting to rise up. APC, PDP, they are not agents of governance. They are instruments for state capture. And they've shown that time and time again. When are we going to wake up?
So if we're spending 98% of what we are, getting as revenue into servicing debt, what is left for the future of the country?
Borrowing. That's who they are. Borrowing. Borrowing not for capital. Borrowing not for something that is sustainable. Look at the train crash. The attack. Look at the things that came out. What you are going to borrow money for, you have no idea of the number of people in a train. No idea. That's the sort of borrowing that they are borrowing. They're not borrowing because it's sustainable. They are borrowing because let's do our own. We'll leave it. Once we look good, whoever comes in will inherit the rot. That's what's left. When we spend 98% on debt servicing, the rest comes from borrowing, not even borrowing for something productive, but borrowing to fuel bureaucracy, borrowing to fuel corruption, reaping the future of our children. It's like stripping your future to enhance your present. Unfortunately, the present benefits them, while the future is reaped for our children yet unborn. We can't keep quiet again. No. We are starting to talk, and we'll talk. You may think it's a short time. It's not a short time. I'm telling you, it takes a day, 1 day, for a man's brain to shift. Voting is about a year away. And I'm telling you that before that time, Nigerians, first, let me come back to where I've always said, God bless President Buhari for signing the Electoral Act. I challenge Nigerians to go and read what is there. Our eyes will be opened and will be gingered. And right now, I'm happy with the quality of people coming in for the presidential race, I'm very happy with what is going on as an alternative platform. And people like Kwankwaso that came out, more people are going to be more bold, more audacious. They are going to come out and we are going to form, as of now, people are saying, third force, listen. Things don't always have to go the way you think it should go. Let them come out in their different wings. NNPP, ADC, different SDP, let them come out and sensitize on the new Nigeria concept. Somewhere along the line, around September, when the candidates have emerged, we'll start the next round of talks. And trust me, Nigerians are going to have a credible rescue team for this nation. It's going to be, because God has answered our prayers. Enough is enough. Listen to the way that clerics and heads of religious organizations are talking. It has never been that way before. They say person, not party. We don't care party anymore. It's person, who you are. When Mr. Adeboye made such a statement, you better just take it serious, because things have got to change. We've prayed enough. We don't pray. Imams have prayed. Christians have prayed. God has answered, and 2023 is the starting line, is the reset button.
Well, so let's start on this note first. It sounds like you were sounding like you're sure that Peter Obi doesn't stand a chance with the PDP. That's on that level. That's on the. I mean, you never can tell. Him out. The party has not decided what as it is.
I was in the PDP. Listen, in the PDP, I did not only contest as a governorship aspirant. I was the chairman and World Congress Committee of the PDP to one of the states. That's one of the highest responsibilities you can have in a party. For you to go and be the one to set up the structure in a state.
But that's not my point. That's not where I'm.
PDP like the back of my palm.
So, I mean, that was just to mention, one of the issues that you raised. But we know that we're coasting this conversation down. And I'd like to drop this. Just like Justin had talked about, where does this leave us? And you say that boring and boring. But if you look at it, it feels like, this is not to make an excuse or to blame anyone, but it feels like we haven't really changed, from where we are. Now, looking at the first development plan at the end, in Nigeria, shortly after the Civil War, the 1966, you found out that the reason that the development plan failed was because we didn't have what it takes, to fund the budget at the time. I mean, you have a development plan, but you can't fund it. And so borrowing has always been, the major problem. And from 1966 or prior before that time, we've always talked about diversification of the economy, and that hasn't really happened. The current economic situation, economic experts will say that, including, the crisis with the Naira right now, and it's because we're just more of a consuming nation. We're not producing. Even if we're producing, we're not producing enough that we can consume and even export. And so that's a major problem. It hasn't been a now problem. It has been a problem from way back. So I really don't know who is going to think outside of the box and make anything different, because we always borrow. We've never...
Yeah, I'll tell you this. It always happens that way until one day, one man comes and thinks. Until one day, a group of people feel they've had their backs against the wall. Rather than try to break the wall, let them turn and face their worst fears. It always happens like that. It's about life comes in seasons and cycles. A day comes. That's why the Bible says, and it came to pass. I like that expression a lot. Countries, India has had its ways, and then how did it turn? Malaysia has had its ways, how did it turn? Singapore has had its ways, how did it turn? Nigeria is having its ways. The question in the next 10 years will be, how did it turn? And we are about to answer that question now. That is being like that does not mean it will always be like that. A day comes, and that day is here. That's why you see some of us shouting ourselves hoarse, because we don't want the journey of 12 days to take 40 years. Eventually, the Israelites will get into the promised land eventually. But let's be the catalyst to make it faster. That's why we're rising and saying, forget party, start to talk people. What is Peter Obi saying? What is Kachiku saying? What is Shinopela saying? What is Wale Adewale saying? These are people. What is Moye saying? Chukwuka. These are young people, vibrant people, old people. There are two types of age. Let me end on this platform, and we need to think about this. There's two types of age. There's the biological age, and there's what I may call the sociological age. A young man of 20 who has been stuck with a politician for the past 5 years since he was 15, a 70-year-old politician. That guy at 20 has the mentality of a 70-year-old politician. So his age is irrelevant. And yet a man at 70 who's come to see that his life has lost meaning and wants to change, and that he can only change by grooming the young people, opening the doors to bring them in. He's the one that's going to think about the young people, care about the young people, work for the young people, while the young person with the political mentality is thinking of how to chop money, rip the economy dry and things like that. So let's know when we talk age, who we are talking about. Right now, the concern should be for the young people, and I want the old people like myself, whom God has blessed, to turn back and think of the younger generation and be the door openers for them. That is my challenge, and that is right now my passion.
All right, thank you so much for your comments, your thoughts, and all that you have shared today, and of course your passion for the young people. We do pray the young people actually, take that as a challenge and actually do what is required to push the nation forward. We do appreciate your time yet again, Mr. Ezekiel Nyaetok, today.
Thanks so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Justin.
It is still the breakfast. You're going to say something?
No, I'm just saying.
All right, it is still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We'll take a bit of a breather. We'll go back and see what happened this day in history. Stay with us.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria. welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What will you concede that he hasn't done well, considering his 3-point agenda when he was coming into office?
There are some that he has succeeded to a large extent. There are some where he has succeeded very well. There are some that have question marks. Not for lack of trying, not for lack of effort, but because the challenges became multifarious and greater than was envisaged. No government solves all the problems in a country.
Join me every week on Plus TV Africa and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Hello and welcome to One on One. My guest today is referred to as a chief plumber. His name is Okwe Adeoye.
Like every child, you want to be this, then you want to be that, then you want to be that. But there was one thing that after a while, I think I would like to be an inventor. I've always planned to start a company. I told my parents when I was leaving school that I don't want to work for anybody. My mom convinced me that no, you need to start from somewhere. This thing, you don't just jump into it. So they start from somewhere, ended up becoming 13 years of paid employment. The biggest lesson is that there are no failures, that there's only learning for you. One of the things I took away from the Toy Labs experience was that I find that younger, hungry, driven people are an asset for you.
You've talked about getting the right stuff, but how do you now keep this good talent that you have for your business?
If I tell you I know the answer, I am lying. Because if I know the answer, I shouldn't be running one pipe. I should be running some kind of talent thing.
Tenancy agreement. So in a case that the landlord wants to evict the tenant, in a case there's no tenancy agreement, what happens in court?
Well, usually what the court will do, or what is expected of the landlord in that situation, is to look at the mode of payment. Number one, it is established, there is no controversy as to the fact that the tenant is a tenant of the landlord, whether or not there is a written tenancy agreement. The fact that there is possession, the tenant is in possession of the premises, and he has made some form of payment, which is rent to the landlord for the use of the premises, that would create a relationship, a tenancy relationship between the landlord and the tenant.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back. It's still The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We will be talking about health this time around. Now, human life is well adapted to the planet. A healthy environment is essential to optimal health and well-being. Conversely, disease and early death are often due to environmental agents called pathogens, both biological and physiochemical. Climate change, heat waves, floods, land degradation, and the loss of biodiversity also threaten human health in a variety of ways, both direct and indirect. On World Health Day 2022, through the Our Planet, Our Health campaign, The World Health Organization is focusing global attention on urgent actions needed to keep humans and the planet healthy. Joining us now to share his thoughts on our planet, our health, is public health practitioner Dr. Tuyi Mebawodu. Thanks for joining us on the breakfast on Plus TV Africa.
Good morning, Justin.
Yeah.
Good morning, viewers.
Yeah, good morning to you, Doctor. So, Doctor, today is World Health Day. Before we get into the theme, why is a specific day, set aside to talk about health in the whole world?
Well, again, today corresponds to the day that WHO was founded. Sometimes in 1948, there was the first assembly, what we call World Health Assembly, was convoked. And then after that, 2 years later, it was now made what we call the World Health Day, where we have to discuss specific issues that relating to health and environment or health and our larger community. So today, yes, since then, since 1950, we've set aside April 7 as the celebration of World Health Day. And of course, we cannot just get tired of talking. And of course, this year, theme is very apt, our planet, our health, because it is only on this planet that we live, we move, and have our beings. We can't, separate ourselves from this planet. Human beings are yet to be interplanetary beings. We can't stay in the moon yet. We can't stay in Mars yet. We just have to hang around here where we have sufficient environment to keep us alive. And since we are now having what we call climate crisis will inadvertently lead to health crisis, obviously, because we're connected to the climate and the planet. And because of the rise of what we call Anthropocene activities, human interaction on this physical plane is causing a lot of challenges to everything and to our health. And we have seen it in the rise of respiratory diseases like asthma. We have seen it in the rise of cancers, which is now becoming and the cardiovascular diseases. We've seen it in the shortage of water and diarrhea diseases. We've seen it in germs jumping from animals, from the wild into human being and causing pandemic or epidemic, as the case may be. We've seen it in loss of biodiversity that even in reality some plants, some animals, you're not seeing them again. And then this has really serious deleterious effects on our health. And of course, we need to start focusing on what I would call planetary health. We need to focus on planetary health because a healthy planet will give us healthy humans. And that should be our focus right on.
Okay, so let's get straight to the focus. I mean, when we get to talk about the issue of, different issues. I mean, we've had several times we've talked about autism, we've talked about different diseases and different ailment. Usually it boils down to the lifestyle, it boils down to, what we do as a people, our activities over the time. So the question here would be, what can we do as we live on the planet or as we're in the planet now, to protect our health?
Yeah, indeed. If you look at it, on air pollution alone, we record as much as 30 million deaths, every blessed year, And then we've been on COP. We did COP21 last time.
What's COP?
Committee, the climate discussions, committee of parties, the COP discussion that discussed climate issues. Nigeria was there. The last one was in Glasgow or so, where we've been discussing issues relating to environment, to climate, and to health. And in fact, we've seen that as much as we're pushing for fossil fuel, as much as we're engaged in deforestation, we're also impacting our health. As much as we cannot get the right food to eat, and we have to create alternative that leads to obesity, and then sedentary lifestyle. All these things are actually impacting on human, and human is the most important, is the most fundamental thing in terms of how this earth is going to be or this planet is going to be. Now, what do we need to do? Because again, like I said, we have to start local at global. Individuals, again, what role are you playing in assuring the biodiversity? First and foremost, that there's a population limit, that the earth can contain. We've seen the rise in population. Look at Lagos, for instance. The place is congested, dirty, and just polluted. That is not how human beings should live. So first and foremost, individually, we have to reduce the generation of waste products that will impact on the environment. Our water surveys, we have to, because what we're seeing is that we're seeing polluted water, plastic in the ocean, plastic on mountain, plastic entering our food chains. And these are one of the things that is causing a lot of challenges for us health-wise. So we need to do that. We need to actually ensure quality air, because you see that everywhere in Lagos, you look up, it's smoky, you're inhaling things that's going to damage your system and alter your DNA and lead to cancer and crazy behaviors. It's impacting on our mental health in many ways. So our water supply, our air quality, the way we live, the housing planning, all these things, feed into how the planet, how we interact with the planet. And from now on, we should always include what I call, they used to do what we call environmental impact assessment. We should also include, as a sub-team, health impact assessment on every project we're doing. If I'm building an estate, what's the health impact assessment? We must be able to look at it holistically in terms of environment, not just the fact that somebody's going to stay in the house, okay? If you're doing road, if you're doing drainage, you have to look at what we call the health impact assessment, because it's going to impact on the environment is going to impact on it. So we have to create that consciousness and improve the conversation on how our planet is related to our health and how our health is related to our planet.
All right, doctor, go ahead.
Okay, just as a follow-up, before Justin comes in now. Well, you understand that the issue of Lagos and, most states that are populated, it's an economic concern. And because people would always gravitate towards where they think that you have resources and opportunity, I mean, it's just an instinct for human beings. So the issue of survival will always be key, and that's why you have people gravitating towards Lagos. And like you have mentioned, the issue of congestion, because you have a lot of people, I don't know if we can get to a point where we say we reduce how much of the waste that we generate, because the population that you have would always mean that you would have to. But maybe how we manage the waste that we're generating might be also another concern. But how do we explain this? Should there be, a policy action, or should this come from an individual standpoint? I mean, I'm saying this out of a point of view that, Justin, you remember when we had the conversation around autism?
Yes.
And the fact that, yes, autism is just there, no cost, but there's some risk factor. And like he has mentioned, you could be exposed to unhealthy environment, and that could trigger, a lot of threats. And so that's where I'm coming from. So how do we address this issue? For instance, Lagos, we understand the fact that people would always, urban-rural drift would always be on the high because of the economic importance and the economic opportunities.
The critical thing is this, we have to really structure economic policy to focus on environmental safety, to focus on our planetary safety, on planetary health and individual health. So you can drive economic activities like that. For instance, we'll be doing a lot of fossil fuel. We can move to recyclable energy. We can move to using products. In fact, now people are talking about biodegradable plastics. So those are key policy issues that can then help us to drive urban distance. Then rural-urban drift is due to economic policies. But again, we've seen that with the advent of COVID, you don't really need to have to stay in Lagos to work in Lagos now. So we have to really, increase the conversation in that regards, and then try to expose our rural area to development. We can't just focus and put everything in a small corner of land and think that we're not going to have confusion and problems. Now, the global insecurity is also a factor that is impacting on the environment and, of course, affecting health. So security, both personal security and food security are key. Policy now, because what we're trying to do is that we're looking for a clean city, a city with clean air, good food supply, and then clean environment. We're looking at that, so good water source. And then we're looking at economic policy that would drive, that can actually be health friendly. So in the future, a developed country will be categorized based on their ability to have clean air, clean water, and not the fact that you have a GDP. I don't even know why everybody calls with what is GDP? It's a fraudulent contraption to measure how wealthy I am. So these are key issues. Am I having clean air? Am I having good water to drink? Is there enough biodiversity? Those are the quality that shows development.
No, so even if people, I mean, if it's a mention of GDP, usually there's always a need for it to reflect in the standard of living of the people. I mean, so GDP is, nobody speaks of GDP independently, but we're saying that if you say your economy, is strong, we want to see how it translates into the standard of living, just like you have mentioned. And so access to basic issues that you have mentioned is very apt. So GDP is not discussed independently.
Let's leave GDP alone. I'm not a friend of GDP.
Doctor, when you were talking about biodiversity and all of that, you talked about plastics. It's something I want us to really talk about, right? Rather, because we do a whole lot with plastics. Almost everything we do right now is done in plastics. We store food in plastic. We eat food from plastic. We buy food, from plastics and every other thing. And sometimes these plastics, still find their way back into the ocean, and they affect, the marine life and the fishes that we eat. What are the impact of these plastics to the health? Let's bring it down home to Nigeria.
Well, for instance, if you look around our waterways, for instance, Lagos, and you look at the dump sites, all around the country, you see the preponderance of plastics in our dump sites, in the water, everywhere, in the gutters, everywhere, plastics everywhere. So again, that these are actually they're chemical products. Invariably, it enters into the water, fish got to swallow some of those things, and then we eat the fish, and part of the plastic then enter into our system. There are a lot of chemicals in the plastic production process that, though, plastic is not biodegradable, but there's a lot of chemicals that will invariably poison the ocean, poison the land, and poison humans. So, and then, of course, we've seen that those chemicals are linked to exactly the polyethylene carbons, the products, They are linked to cancers. They are linked to organ failure. They are linked, sometimes we see increased cases of renal failure. We see increased cases of cardiac problems. These are even mental challenges or nervous degenerations. These are linked to some of those chemicals that leach into water from plastic. So now the way to go about it is to actually, of course, raise the concerns, raise the discussion on all those things, and then see a way to actions to actually clean our oceans, clean our land from plastic, and then push for reusable plastics that, you don't have to, the throwaway culture put a lot of challenges on us. We have to eat and throw away. So reusable, recyclable, and then degradable plastics, that's the future of the environment as well.
So let's quickly talk about this one. I mean, yesterday we experienced the rain in Lagos, and we know what happens when it rains. So our planet, our health, what are we going to do with this one? Flooding is a major issue. Major issue. And in some countries outside, of Nigeria, I wouldn't want to say outside of Africa, or, but I would like to stay with Nigeria. Usually, some people would say flooding might be a natural disaster, but for us, it's man-made. How do we solve this problem? It's a major issue because usually when we have the rain come, you have that a lot of people lose, there's loss of life. People get carried by the flood water, flood will come to their houses and what have you, lives and properties will be lost. So we're approaching the rainy season. How do we protect our planet and protect our health?
Yeah, we know that actually what we are seeing in the world are extremes of conditions because of the climate change. Yeah, some places you see excessive flooding, some you see drought. So depending on where you are. And then, of course, like storms and all those things, hurricanes, they increase. So what happens with flooding essentially is that not just the fact that it carries human beings, not just the fact that it destroys properties. There are a lot of water-related diseases, with diarrheas, mosquito breeds, and then can then transmit a lot of diseases, including dengue, fever, malaria, and all those things. So we see dysentery, we see typhoid increasing, of course. These are critical issues that affect health. So, and then sometimes it contaminates our real source of water supply. It carries plastic, carries feces, carries everything. So these are key issues. What we need to do, government for need to be able to create channels for water to flow. It's very essential. You need to clean our gutters, ensure drainage, as the rain falls. And then as the rain is falling, we need to have what I call the early warning signs. Rain is coming, gentlemen, take care of this, your water source, take care of that. Don't just put your leg in the water. If you have these symptoms, call these numbers, see these people. We need to improve that conversation so that people know that, during the rainy season, it's not like the same as dry season. So globally, we still have to keep on talking about the, climate change, COP, of course, 21. Thank God America is back into the COP panel now, the Paris Agreement. That's what we call the Paris Agreement. America is back. During Donald Trump, they left, and they're just a big player in those things because, and you look at it, the great polluters of this world, they are the ones who are with that high GDP. How do you now rationalize that? How do you now bring the great polluters? Yes, the great polluters of the world are the China, they're in US, they're in yes. How do you now rationalize them having the highest GDP? Why me that is actually trying to manage my own thing? You are putting problem on me.
No. All right, but doctor, but just before we go, let's talk about COVID-19. You know, it's as though we are doing well. That's what I'm really thinking, because the federal government is lifting midnight curfews and crowd restrictions, and just the other time they told us about that use of face masks are no longer mandatory, you know, discretionary. So how would you rate COVID-19 management vis-a-vis the announcement that the federal government made just yesterday?
Does it mean that COVID has...
Are we just going in the same direction as Britain?
Lucky we that the deleterious effect of COVID-19 is not really strongly felt. We're very lucky. We have enough stress. Maybe nature just thought that we had enough stress. Now, when the Omicron variant came up, I had actually repeated that this may be the variant we're looking for. Because the critical thing is that it's easily transmissible, but it's less virulent, okay? And that's the perfect way virus will behave. When they mutate and get to a point where they can jump, because it's not in their own interest to kill you. So when they can jump from one person to another and not kill the person, and use the person to jump to another person, that's the perfect, viral evolution. So now we are nearly getting to that point. When you get to that point, you know that it's not, because what you're afraid of is a death. We are not going to get, all we're praying now is that we don't get more mutations. So yes, rightly so, that because since we're not having a lot of positive cases coming up, or even severe cases, let's use that word, maybe we have dropped our testing, but we're not seeing severe cases. It's ready to actually lower your guard a bit. But, the vigilance must continue. The vigilance must continue. We must be able to do, genomic vigilance. Look at the sequencing, the type of mutation that is coming in the virus, because for all you care, one can just misbehave like bandits on Kaduna Road. Somebody can just misbehave like that. So we have to be on the watch out. So the fact that if today, Shanghai is in a lockdown, okay, and some Americans are thinking of the third, fourth, doses of the vaccine. So we shouldn't fold our arm and figure out that, all weather fine, we're not having a problem. It's nice for us to relax, but it's also important for you to continue the conversation.
So the reason that the government has actually given is the fact that you look at the effect of it, we're not recording cases. We're strong on
we're not testing cases.
Testing much.
We're not testing cases.
That's what we're saying. We're saying that, the figures have actually dropped. And we have been very strong on vaccination. But reports coming from the United Kingdom saying that since they had relaxed, the restriction, the cases have actually gone very high. And I'm sure that this is something that the media is actually not reporting at this point. So the big question here is, we remember how we have struggled with COVID-19, 2 years and counting. And all of a sudden, we're asking, the world is, some part of the world, everyone is relaxing. We're saying, let's take off. It's not compulsory to wear the nose masks in different places, even though the government is still saying, government, offices and organizations should be responsible and take precaution. But midnight curfew have been lifted, and all of those gatherings stopped. So it brings us back to saying that, is it that COVID has gone?
No. I can understand the lifting of the midnight curfew. For what? COVID is not a midnight worker, so it's not that, it's a nocturnal jam. It's not a nocturnal virus. So even during the day, it can. But again, we can't drop our guard as far as those basic public health intervention is concerned. I don't know the rationale. Okay, wait a minute. Yes, mask is not just for COVID. I think, sure. There are a lot of respiratory, pollutions, pollutants, irritants, germs that we can pick from respiratory. So again, we should have actually incorporated this into our lifestyle so that we don't really see much of that, or even hand washing and all those, some little distance. We can also spread other diseases. I think we should have, actually, why we're not putting restrictions and, compulsory testing here and there, we should have actually encouraged those non-pharmaceutical intervention to keep us on guard. And you can trust Nigerians, especially the naysayers and what I call the doubters. officers say, we told you that there's no COVID now. You see, government has finally come back to the thing. May we not have a mutant strain that will challenge our public health system, which we don't have anyway. So, for me, it's neither here nor there. If I were to be in the position of government, yes, I would lift other things, leave that COVID and those, but I would still insist on some that measures.
So is it like we don't have, variants that are really so severe? That is why we are lifting these restrictions, or is it that we now manage COVID-19 better in the country? All the interventions that we've talked about, all the public health concerns that we have mentioned, we have addressed them?
We have not addressed anything. Justin, you know, you go around, even at the peak of COVID, how many people were using masks? Okay? How many vaccinations do we do? How many testing do we do? We never got beyond that. How many even the vaccine we did? We never, our first dose never passed 5 million. So out of a population of so-called 200 million plus. So it's not that, you see, if you want to measure what we did, it's not that we have done spectacularly better than those countries that are having, a resurgence now. You can't claim you've done better than China, or even some part of the US. But again, for whatever, I say lucky we. That's the only thing I can say. But lucky we cannot then plan health strategy on luck. You cannot just wake up and say that, oh, I'll always be lucky. Let me now, calm down. But, the lesson we're not learning. We're not, to see that, okay, this is the point to actually step up non-public health interventions in health. Washing hands will prevent a lot of diseases apart from COVID, Covering your nose will prevent a lot of respiratory problems, apart from COVID. And then keeping social distance will also prevent a lot of things, in a way. So we still put those things in the context, But the only thing we can say that if you are vaccinated, then we can give you leeway, probably not to take your, wear masks in that regard, or something in that sort. But for us to just wake up and say, okay, wait a minute, go back to your life as normal. Well, there's always Holy Ghost protecting us.
So is it like, because some people would say that we are too quick to want to follow the Western world in their, the approach to things. Britain, they lifted some of these restrictions, and so far we are also doing the same. When COVID was really, really very active in 2020, 2021, there was this talk of herd immunity and all of that. Is that a situation right now?
Listen, we've not actually done a lot of study to push to see that herd immunity. Of course, like I told you, what the virus does, what a typical virus or a respiratory virus does is that it mutates rapidly. When it mutates rapidly, it gets to a point. Well, if a very virulent virus will not last, matter of fact, because you kill the person that's supposed to help you transmit to another person, and then you're also dead. So the Omicron variant was the perfect virus that you can jump from one person to another, will not cause severe disease, will just go away again and jump to another person. You have immunity, definitely, no doubt. But how long does this immunity last? It's still a big question. How long the immunity lasts. So the major problem in disease is the death, morbidity, and mortality. If you're not having severe morbidity, you're not having severe mortality, human beings will always cope with the disease. I think that's where we are now. We're not experiencing severe morbidity and mortality, and we feel like, okay, what the heck, let's focus on some other things, okay? I think that's where we are with COVID. But that we're copying the Western world, who else do you copy? No, it will be quite interesting. Do you want me to copy, those Yahoo, what's it called, those ritualists?
No, but
we're talking about health. Health is a global thing.
No, we understand that it's a global thing. We understand that health is a global issue, and some of the issue. I mean, at the time where Nigeria, we had to deal with Ebola. Was it a global issue?
It was a pandemic because it's an African issue. In fact, it killed people in the US, jumped to Germany. It was all around the place.
So I understand, but we found the way. The point is, because what is looking like right now, we followed the story, we followed the reports. We remember the time where Boris Johnson had a big, deal with answering questions. He was being challenged why he was breaking protocols, having parties, and not too short after, all of those concerns that were raised. Why was he having parties in the midst of COVID-19 where you have restrictions that saying, you're not supposed to have large gatherings? And not too long after that, you had you know, the United Kingdom being very specific, saying that, hey, we're relaxing all of the restrictions. Now, like I said, the cases which the media might not be reporting, I'm having, you know, some interaction with people over there, and they're saying that, you know, the cases have actually surged as we speak right now. So it feels like we are just waiting. It's like we're replicating whatever happens. So we wait and see, okay, they have said they are relaxing the, you know, the restrictions. Nigeria will come up and say we're relaxing.
I don't think it's that.
So what's the basis on
I don't
the premise?
think it's that. It's not A is equal to B. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Well, because
so on what
in our own case,
now?
A, what they've told you is that, one, they're not seeing more cases. They're not seeing fatality. The more positive cases are not coming. That's what they told you in Nigeria.
So it's a coincidence then? It's clashing with what?
No, because, you see, the point is that if they claim they're not seeing cases, and they say, okay, what is the need for that curfew? It's not necessary. Why do you have to? Is the mask on? I'm not. That is not too clear to me. But what happened is that, you see, there's a at the level of World Health Organization and different health bilateral and multilateral institutions, there are protocols for a lot of things. You know that if you have epidemic, this is the way what you do so that the thing does not kill you. This is how to respond. There's a general protocol for those things. Now, and that's also what was applied. Ebola is not new, only that it just entered West Africa and started killing people suddenly. It's not new. So, in a way, there has been a protocol to respond to that. What we did was that we had a government that responded appropriately and be able to curtail it. That also happened. Thank God it was not a respiratory virus, so it will have actually spread further than that. But, you know, be that as it may, it doesn't mean that we're copying,
So we're not replicating. It's not the case of copy. Because
see,
the question that people want to ask.
You see, people...
No, Dr. Tuvi,
I want them to clearly tell me options. You see, people make noise, they say all sorts of things. What is your option? If you are not following those protocols, what are you going to do?
No, so
what are they going to do?
So
those
basically, I mean, because we have to probe and interrogate, you know, some of these policy actions and, you know, decision of government. If we're saying that we're not wearing the nose bags, let's look at how far we fared when we had COVID on top of our case. I mean, the fact that we're battling with it, the world was battling with it in terms of research. How effective were we, you know, resources pooling, researching and trying to find independent solution to solving it? Or because I really don't know, you can tell me, you're the practitioner and you are more exposed, you know, to the health sector than I am. So I'd like to find out, because it's based on this premise that we're asking all of this question. If you look at our body language when we had it, how were we responding to it? How were we treating vaccination? You have mentioned when countries of the world were talking about, you know, what's it called again? The shots, booster shots. We're still grappling with the fact that some people have not even taken the first shot. Some people have not gotten the first shot. And you need to take the first shot and take the second before you talk about the booster shot. So how much of the population have been vaccinated? So how come we're getting to this point? So, I mean, it's based on this premise that we're asking all of this questions.
Yes, we know that if you crunch our data in terms of health, whether the input means buildings, health workers, equipment, funds, those are inputs. We're way down there, less than 4% of our budget committed to health, most of them on recurrent expenditure. We're not doing research, universities are closed down, we're not producing doctors, majority of them have gone. You see, it's a really sad statistics. But what has happened is that, we're here, COVID is here, and now we're not seeing more of those transmission according to them, because I don't know how much of the tests they're doing, we're not seeing. And they must appear to be acting. So, but for me, we have to keep up the vigilance. Even if you say drop your mask, interact, go to party, hug yourself, you have to keep up the vigilance. The vigilance means that there must be an improved testing and genomic sequencing to see whether we're having a mutant strain of the virus, or whether the virus is still attenuating, getting weaker, or we're having a mutant strain of the virus. Right. So if we drop those things, we must increase our genomic surveillance. We must increase our genomic surveillance to see the new set of virus that is coming. But again, good enough, we have support in that regard. We have a lot of people trying to support, the other country trying to support in that regard to do that genomic sequence. But as far as we are concerned, no comments.
All right, Doctor, since we're talking about health generally, we've talked about the federal government lifting these restrictions. Let's talk about other health. Since today is World Health Day, let's talk about other health challenges that we have in Nigeria right now. Since this week, we've been having increased reported cases of Lassa fever across the country. What do we have in our hands?
Well, we have, we talk every day. It's become tired, and now it's expired. In a way, all our speech, trying to talk and see how health can be done. The first thing, critical case in health is that you need HRH, human resources for health.
At what level?
At every level.
Okay.
Human resources for health, I'm talking about the input nurses, laboratory, pharmacists, doctors, epidemiologists. You need all those people to build your health. You cannot be building health on the internet. It's a waste of time. Or searching Google. No, that's not health. You need that. But we are not there. Sadly enough, we're not there. We're not doing enough, on our health system. And because of that, we've seen increased, we have what we call endemic diseases, that are seasonal. Okay, and then we have the upcoming diseases that will spike. We have non-communicable diseases. So in our hands now, because of these anthropocene activities, human activities, we're getting closer to those those animals, and they're giving us germs every time. I can sit down and tell you that by December now, we'll have another spike of Lassa fever. So you ask yourself, what are they doing? The NDC, this is what you just wake up when the spike comes up and say, okay, we're creating an emergency operation center. It's like, looking for hose to pour water on every fire instead of preventing the fire. So what is the prevention? Okay? It means continuous epidemiological surveillance, even in the rats, with the farmers, how they do their crop. It's a spectrum. Okay, it's not something you isolated, because when the Lassa fever will announce itself, it will announce every side an hospital killing the doctor or killing the nurse. That's why, we have a Lassa fever in our hand, and then we start running helter-skelter, kitty-catter, like that person said. So so what we need to do is that surveillance to look at it and say, wait, these are farmers, okay? These are the early warning signs of Lassa fever. Let them know, okay? This is how to preserve food, because we're talking about a rat eating your food, or come in contact with you to give the virus. That is the simple thing now. So as long as you can prevent the contact between human and that rat, you're not going to get the Lassa fever. How can that be so difficult? Okay? There's agricultural practice involved. There's a farming practice involved. There's food and nutrition security involved. There's health. There's education involved. So we have to look through this spectrum to be able to understand how to prevent Lassa fever and so many other things, because now, even on our hands, unfortunately, a few days ago, I lost a friend to cancer, very sad, beautiful, wonderful young man. Another two of my friends just fell down on their seats and collapsed and died. Okay? Why should that be happening? And we have seen increased non-communicable diseases. Guys are on drugs. They're just on all sorts of drugs. Their mental state is not just there. Violence is increasing. Okay, so we're not looking at all these things as input into our health and security of a country. If you don't have health security, what security do you now have? So, it's a gamut of problems, a huge issues that, I don't know how to raise the conversation, but we'll try as much as possible to keep talking about it. But all of us should be able to start from our own point of view and say that I want to stay healthy as much as I can.
So let's pick it up from there now, all of us, standing, because we constantly would always want to depend on the government for everything. And like you have mentioned, it's a lot. Talking about the input, you're talking about the resources, you're talking about a whole lot. Recently, we saw the story of a young lady who lost her life here in Lagos. And I think, the hospital has been closed down, shut down, and the reason for all of that is negligence, lack of professionalism and what have you. But so let's come down to us now. It's a good thing that today is World Health Day, and it brings us to the point where we talk about we being responsible. So how can we, at all levels, how can we be responsible, take responsible for ourselves? We're not even limiting this to diabetes. We're not talking about hypertension. But what can we do to protect ourselves while we are, on planet Earth?
Well, lifestyle is key. We have to be able to look at some things and drop some activities that is not going to promote our health. It's very key. Basic hygiene, these are things you can do,
Basic hygiene, when you say basic hygiene?
You wash your hands, okay? You keep your environment clean. You prevent the growth of disease vectors, okay? Water accumulating in your place, you try to drain it, and then prevent your garden or your grass, cut them very well. So those are very key, and then you avoid crowd as much as possible. If somebody is coughing near you, you have to cover your nose, or if you are coughing, you have to cover your nose so that you don't contaminate anybody. But that's then again, there are habits, Why will you go 2 nights without sleeping? You have to sleep. He gave us his beloved sleep. Maybe it's written in your Bible.
That's what the Bible says.
Yes.
No, not everyone believes in the Bible.
No, okay, he doesn't. The body will tell you to sleep. I don't care whether it's the Bible or not. The body will tell you to sleep. Sleep. Sleep does a lot of things for you. Find the time to sleep. Now, we can worry about so many things. Over the weekend, last weekend or so, we were on the riverine with some people, some foreigners. We were on the riverine part of Ekwe, visiting those villages, trying to do some work there. And then it hits me that, all the goats in the villages, all the desert, they were walking around oblivious of Boko Haram, oblivious of whether one government is performing or not. So again, it's a mindset. You'll be able to tune your mind to have that kind of peace.
So you're saying we should
act
like
back
goats?
to the hinterland.
No, they're not acting like ghosts. It's sensible. It's sensible because again, you look at it. The one you can do, please do. That is very key. The one you can do, please do. Don't wait for government. And then you must be able to cultivate the habit of doing a checkup on yourself. Okay? If you're going to have a number of 2 people, a security person and a medical doctor, talk to somebody that, please, this is I need to do a checkup. Depending on your age, some once in a year, some once in 2 years will be sufficient. If you have any symptoms, don't say that, I'm covered by whatever blood. Cover yourself with knowledge first. And don't always take the knowledge from internet as your compass. That's just nothing as far as health is concerned. Seek real knowledge. Improve your health literacy. Ask questions. Make a call. And don't delay treatment of any symptom, because ordinary headache is a warning that you need to do something more important. So in our calculation, because the key thing is that even some of us that are struggling to maintain some financial comfort, it's a real struggle. God forbid, a challenging health situation will revert the person to poverty, because now there's no health system to treat you. Okay, and when they say that go and bring even MRI, go and bring 70,000. The treatment, the cost of treatment is 4.4 million. You'll be wondering where are you going to get that? And there's no safety net. There's no safety net to help you. Government is not going to pay. The family that provides support for all of us is broken down. Nobody wants to give a damn of his money because they don't really have in the first instance. The health fund, what do they call it, National Health Insurance, is covering just about 2% of the population of Nigeria.
I was going to talk about that.
Most of them are government workers, okay, who can actually fly abroad again. So we are just left, to just float on our own. So taking decisions personally at your level becomes key. What have I done lately to my health? It is very key.
All right, Doctor, as we wrap up on this particular discussion, still on the theme of the World Health Day, our planet, our health, I just want you to just advise Nigerians generally on your last word on what they need to do and what they need to be conscious, what narrative needs to be changed, and what conversations we should be having concerning the planet and our health.
Well, like I said in the beginning, it is here we live, we move, we have our being. We can't go anywhere. That's our biggest environment. You can't go anywhere. If you pollute it, what goes comes around. What goes around comes around at the end. So if you mess it up, because now you have to be responsible how you relate to the environment. You cannot just wake up and start burning fire anyhow and releasing If your car is smoking, you can't just have to really mess up the environment by putting more carbon dioxide into the environment. You don't have to increase your noise level. You can easily talk like I'm talking and everybody will understand you. You don't have to shout and make life more unbearable for other people. And then, the simple thing is that, your water source, your water source is very key. I know there's no light for you. Don't worry. Open your window. Put net so that mosquito won't bite you. I know there's issue of security. Be vigilant. What else can you do? So focus on your life. Focus on your health, because it's only when you are healthy that you can enjoy any money you are going to make and live a balanced life. A balance of work, rest, and recreation. Recreation. Listen to music.
Very apt.
Come and listen to my set of jazz. You'll be calm. Not all those music that will ask you to go and do rituals. It's a mental, and then run away from intoxicating substances. Especially drugs that have psychoactive properties. It's going to mess up your mental health.
All right. A whole lot you have said today concerning our health, and thank you so much, Dr. Tui Mebondo, for your time. I'm sure Nigerians have learned a whole lot concerning what they need to do to save the planet and to save, their own lives as well. Thank you so much yet again.
It's my pleasure always.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. And that's the size of our conversation. If you missed out on any part of it, it's okay to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and do subscribe to YouTube channel. It's at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Boko. Have a great day.
And I'm Justin Academy. Many thanks for being a part of the show. Let's keep the conversation flowing. Let's keep on talking about healthy lifestyle, lifestyle modification. We need to be conscious about our health. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We'll return again tomorrow. Bye for now.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment. There's another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating. And successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Most people know the common symptoms of the original COVID-19 variant, which are shortness of breath, cough, fever, sore throat, loss of taste or smell. It is important, however, to note that there are new variants of the coronavirus which are caused by mutations of the virus. The original Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and now the Delta variant. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the Delta variant, also known as B.1.617.2, can spread more easily as it has mutations on the spike protein that makes it easier for it to infect human cells. This means people may be more contagious if they contract the virus and more easily spread it to others. It is 50% more contagious than the Alpha variant, which is already 50% more contagious contagious than the original coronavirus first identified in China in 2019. Its new symptoms are headaches, runny nose, and a sore throat. Now, while the Delta variant is still being studied, there are 5 things we need to note about it. 1. It spreads really quickly. One thing that sets this variant apart from others is the speed at which it's spreading. For instance, in just a few months' time, it went from being non-existent to becoming the dominant variant in the US, India, and the United Kingdom. 2. It could cause other symptoms. Cold-like symptoms such as headache, runny nose, and a sore throat top the list in the ongoing study of the Delta variant. 3. Vaccinated individuals are protected against the Delta variant. Medical experts have stated that the Delta variant is no match for the authorized vaccines as they provide a high level of protection against Delta and other variants circulating in the world. The AstraZeneca vaccine has been shown to be 60% effective at preventing infection and 92% effective at preventing hospitalization caused by the Delta variant, just to mention an instance. 4. Unvaccinated people are at risk. People who have not been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 are most at risk of being infected with the Delta variant. And for the first time, kids and young people are a concern as well. A recent study from the United Kingdom showed that children and adults under 50 were 2.5 times more likely to become infected with the Delta variant, as the variant seems to be impacting younger age groups more than previous variants. 5. Masks are still important. Health experts across the world advise everyone to still wear their mask, even though fully vaccinated against COVID-19. They are also advising unvaccinated people to avoid large gatherings and mask up indoors where the vaccination status of other people are unknown. And 6. Other variants are still on the way. Even though the Delta variant is currently the most prominent strain of COVID-19 currently, the Lambda variant out of South America is still emerging. Health experts urge that if people want to get back to normal, a significant portion of the population needs to be vaccinated. So get your vaccines today, mask up, and stay safe.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to 2 things. 1, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
Good morning, I am Justin Akadonye and this is the News Brief on Plus TV Africa. President Muhammadu Buhari has issued Executive Order 11, which mandates the government to institutionalize the maintenance of public buildings. Now, signing the new order, the president directed all ministries, departments, and agencies of government to set up maintenance departments in line with the provisions of the new executive order. Buhari pointed out that maintenance of public facilities has gone beyond just a culture but an economy, providing employment for a good number of Nigerians. He said the order now gives legal backing to the country's national maintenance policy. Following this course of building collapses in Nigeria, an expert in building, Professor Kunle Wahab, has pointed out that the sector of the economy is marred with unprofessional practices and regulatory compromise. In an exclusive interview with Plus TV News, Professor Wahab touched on the housing deficit in Nigeria. Our correspondent Jacinta Obuko reports.
All over the world, building collapse is not new. However, human factors such as negligence, flouting of building codes, use of defective or substandard materials, incompetence, and corruption are said to be responsible for the damage. For instance, in Lagos, the city is often referred to as construction site, given the volume of building projects progressively taking place at various sites across the megacity. Professor Kunle Wahab is a professor in building. He spoke on the incessant building collapse.
It's not all the buildings that collapse that ought to have collapsed. There are some stresses, things that you can see deficient in building that can be corrected while the building is still going on. But these days, for what I can call irregularities, people who don't want to fulfill all the righteousness in construction, they may be doing something prematurely. And the people who are supposed to supervise, they are not forthcoming. Or, I want to use the word that people have paid for non-coming, but they still sign that they come and seen it and it's okay.
Chapter 59, Section 74 of the Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law of Lagos State 2010, which was signed by the former governor, Mr. Raji Fashola, although now amended, states that in the event of the collapse of any property or structure due to negligence on the part of the owner or the developer, such property shall be forfeited to the state government after due investigation or publication in the State Official Gazette. But to today, nobody has been prosecuted for building collapse or the building sites taken over by the government in accordance with the established position of law.
Designers of buildings and those who are like contractors are executing the building have to be competent people that not only knows what goes into the structure, but where you can avoid, adopting cutting corners.
Professor Wahab also hinted on the issues of spaces in structures and urged government to go beyond paperwork.
Not every house should have shops and of different characters in front of their, buildings, because they will add, whether we like it or not, to the overloading of building itself.
The Building Control Agency is required to conduct periodic inspection of building developments within the state to identify defective and distressed structures and has the power to demolish buildings that do not conform with the regulations and planning permits. Jacinta Obuku, Plus TV News.
From building to national security. The Senate has considered a bill sponsored by Senator Sulaiman Omar, APC Kwara, seeking to establish the National Religious Harmony Commission, NHRC, as it has passed the second reading during plenary. Leading debate on the general principles of the bill, Omar said the United Nations Charter and several provisions of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, were based on the principles of the dignity and equality of all human beings, and that the United Nations Charter sought the promotion and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction to race, sex, language, or religion. The bill, after consideration, was referred to the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for legislative input and was given 4 weeks to turn in its report.
Are based on the principles of dignity and equality of human beings and seek, among other basic objectives, the promotion and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Having realized the sensitive role of religion in national security, peace, and harmony, the federal government wishes to promote interreligious harmony and understanding due to the checkered history of religious intolerance in Nigerian polity. The bill seeks to create an enabling environment for the peaceful coexistence of all adherents of different religious beliefs within the Nigerian nation, and as well provide for a forum for public enlightenment and dialogue on to limit controversy and confrontation over allegations of discriminations based on religious beliefs and identities.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National Religious Harmony Commission and for other matters connected there to 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Staying with the National Assembly, the House of Representatives has observed that the reassignment of dormant and inactive phone lines by telecommunication companies without recourse to previous owners has led to the breach of privacy. The solution was sequel to a motion from Steve Fatoba on the need to protect telephone subscribers from breach of privacy, fraud, and loss of money. He explained that Nigerians have fallen victims to illegal withdrawals from their accounts because their banks keep sending transaction details to their previous phone numbers, which have been reassigned to new subscribers.
Concerns that in spite of the regulatory frameworks in existence, the occurrence of a breach of privacy cases of fraud and consequently financial loss are on the increase. Also concerns that many Nigerians are falling victim to illegal and unauthorized deduction of funds from their bank accounts because their financial institutions keep sending their bank account transaction details into their entitled phone numbers, which have been reassigned to new subscribers, thus opening a dangerous window for fraudulent activities.
In a bid to checkmate the excesses of oil thieves and bunkers, as well as ensure that critical national assets in the state are safe from economic saboteurs, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps River State Command has arrested 14 suspects for unlawful dealings in petroleum products.
Vigor and strategy. The state commandant, Abu Tambuwa, said the arrests were premised on the renewed vigor and strategic effort put in place by the command to combat the menace of oil theft, illegal refineries, oil bunkering, and illegal dealings in petroleum products in Rivers State.
This arrest was made possible as a result of the marching order given by the commandant of the River State Command, Commandant Abu Tambuwa, who has reiterated in his assumption of office that the war against illegal bunkering in River State is non-negotiable.
While reaffirming the command's continued synergy with relevant sister agencies, the commandant issued a stern warning to economic saboteurs in the state, stating that they either engage themselves in legal ventures or risk facing the full wrath of the law.
I'd like to hint to the general public and the gentlemen of the press that all these suspects will definitely be charged to court at the expiration of a thorough investigation. I want to use this opportunity to call on the good people of River State to collaborate with the NSCDC Rivers State Command by giving us credible intelligence, because safeguarding critical national assets and infrastructure is a collective responsibility. Let me also finally issue a stern warning to economic saboteurs in the state. I advise you to engage yourself in legal ventures, legal businesses, or you risk facing the full wrath of the law.
Commandant Abu Tambua urged residents to cooperate with the command by supplying adequate information that will assist the civil defense in achieving its core mandate in the Niger Delta region.
Staying in the Rivers State, the former senator representing Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, Magnus Abe, says President Muhammadu Buhari is yet to anoint anyone as his successor. Senator Abe said this following reports that the president has chosen an influential member of the All Progressives Congress, APC, to succeed him. Speaking with his supporters in Port Harcourt, Senator Abe advised those jubilating that Buhari's successor has emerged not to be deceived by anyone.
President Buhari has not mandated anybody to go and tell people that he's the anointed successor. Anybody who is carrying that story is carrying a false rumor, and you will see it in the end. Within the next 3 to 4 months, by the INEC timetable, all these kitty kata that you're seeing everywhere, everything will calm down.
He also advised his loyalists not to be discouraged by whoever is occupying the position of the South-South representative in the APC at the national level.
What we want is a chairman that will look at the rights and interests of all members of this party and give everybody a fair chance. That's what we're asking from the party. If another person has the opportunity or the privilege to go and do the job, they simply do it according to what the constitution of the party.
Earlier, the factional chairman of the APC in the state, Golden Chioma, said he remains the recognized state chairman of the party. He explained that the national leadership knows that the state chapter is factionalized despite the convention.
The party is aware that the state called Rivers State is still factionalized. They are aware. They are also aware that they need to do things fast in Rivers State so that we'll all come together. Are you aware? Where we are now is that the state party, the party in the national must speak that the Rivers State must be allowed to produce candidates that can win the election, and not a candidate that suits the whims and caprice of an individual. We have passed beyond, we have passed that stage.
We're still talking 2023 election. A presidential aspirant, Professor Christopher Imomolin, says Nigeria's challenges cannot be solved by an individual, but will require the input of genuine-minded individuals. Imomolin, who made this known after a closed-door meeting with Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, said he will be bringing his private sector expertise to bear.
The solution to the challenges we have, which I know, can only be fixed by one persons like me who really have not stained himself with the game of politics. One who is coming from a technocrat background, who has succeeded privately, who have a track record. I know that many Nigerians may be seeing my face new, and that is even more important and very, very good, because for a fresh face like this who have gotten so much experience from the private sector, I think Nigeria can be saved by someone like me, because I am neutral, I have the willpower, I can deliver, I can make decisions for the masses. I would not be making decisions that would solve the problem of this country by considering fewer numbers of persons. You know, Nigeria problem cannot be solved by one man, but can be solved by a group of genuine-minded people.
The presidential hopeful also challenged the youth to get involved in governance in order to change the country's tainted narrative.
Every Nigerian wants a new face. We are tired of the old faces. And if we keep talking about we are tired and nobody's taking action, it's as if we don't know what we are doing. So if Nigerians are crying out there that they want a new face, they want someone who has succeeded privately, you know, it is no time for us to be sharing our track record. We can check them out there. And I represent that face. I represent that face of hope. I represent that face that will change the narrative for the Nigerian.
Meantime, a group referred to as Arewa Alliance has started canvassing for the Southeastern presidency in 2023. The group said the only way the region could feel safe being a part of the country is by producing the next president to heal the wound earned in the 30-month civil war and the agitation for the Biafran Republic. Speaking at the press briefing in Yola, Adamawa State, the leader of the group, with membership across the 19 northern states and beyond, urged the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari as his emergence will further unite Nigerians. Now, convener of the Alliance for Emefiele for Presidency 2023, Dauda Noshu, said Emefiele has positioned himself as a vision-driven and target-focused leader who would help the youth unleash their creative talent and become better citizens and sterling ambassadors beyond the shores of the country.
At least to even put the issue of agitation, this issue of zoning to put to rest, that is a very good reason why we should take this thing to the southeast. They have been agitating for this particular leadership to come to their zone, which we believe in Nigeria, the oneness of Nigeria, the unity of Nigeria. This is a simple reason why we said. We are not saying he's better than any other person, but we know of his capabilities and we have trust in him, we have confidence in him. If only he will accept to run, we will give him our support and Nigeria will be proud of.
Currently, we have President Muhammadu Buhari, who is also from the north. Seeing that the north has held power for a long since independence, now we want the power to shift to the south, particularly southeast. That is why, so that to show that we are still one Nigeria. That's the agitation. And to that southeast, we have seen that there are many people there. Out of them, some of them have shown that they can actually lead us in this country. Economically, they have that capability. We are talking of the person of Dr. Godwin Emefiele being the current CBN governor, and his initiative on monetary policy and other policies that make Nigeria to stand the test of COVID-19, the test of inflation, the test of economic recession.
Away from all of that now to education matters. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the issuance of provisional licenses for the establishment of 12 private universities across the country. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who announced this at the end of Wednesday's council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, said the affected universities would be located in Kano, Niger, Gombe, Sokoto, Delta, Abia, Anambra, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Mohammed said the new universities will be mentored by old ones nearer to them, and that the establishment of the universities for an additional over 200 million population in the country is necessary if the policy of educating a larger percentage of youngsters is to be succeeded. Now, Delta State Governor Senator Ifeanyi Okowa says the only way to reduce road crashes in Nigeria is for it to be treated as a national emergency. Okowa made that statement at the 2021 Road Marshal Assistant Drivers Basic Course Passing Out Parade held at the FRSC Marshal Inspectorate Training School in Ika Northeast local government area of the state. Our Delta State correspondent Friday Akpomajara reported that Governor Okowa said his administration is proud to have made modest contributions to road safety in Nigeria. Well, Nigerians continue to call for the improvement of healthcare delivery. That's on Street Views. Take a listen.
They are improving unlike the previous years, especially in general hospitals right now. There is a good facilities and the workers are really on ground. Now they have realized the reason to take responsibility on the job.
In general hospital, they will show you abuse you doing this and everything. Maybe government should help us to do the care. I will like it. Everybody will like it.
Basically, Well, I think they are trying for now, but I think there are lots of work to be done. Like we still have dilapidated hospitals that are not really working efficiently, and but basically for now, it's still on maybe 50% of 100. In a scale of 100, maybe 50% thereabout.
Relatively, if you look at the healthcare system in Nigeria, I think to me, I would, if I'm rating it, I'll probably rate it 70% in terms of percentage. That's because there are some infrastructures we have in other well-developed countries that we don't have in Nigeria. And that's one of the things I feel government should look into.
I think there is still a lot need to be done because I've been in the different hospitals, and especially the government hospitals. There are a lot of things that need to be done because especially the staffs they have, the Nigerian public hospitals, they need to do a lot of things to correct their mode of talking to their patients.
The voice of the people there. Moving outside Africa, United States Attorney General Merrick Garland says the United States is assisting with international efforts to collect evidence of possible war crimes committed in Ukraine by Russia. Garland says the U.S. Department of Justice's senior prosecutor met with his French counterpart in Paris this week. Discussing the Russian military intelligence botnet, Garland said U.S. authorities were able to disable it before it could be weaponized.
Today, we are announcing several actions the Justice Department has taken to disrupt and prosecute criminal activity associated with the Russian regime. The first action we are announcing today is the unsealing of an indictment charging Russian oligarch Konstantin Malofev with sanctions violations. As the indictment charges, the Treasury Department previously identified Malofev as one of the main sources of financing for Russians promoting separatism in Crimea and for providing material support for the so-called Donetsk People's Republic.
With the court-authorized operations we're announcing today, we've disrupted this botnet before it could be used. We were largely able to do that because we had close cooperation with WatchGuard. We've worked closely with WatchGuard to analyze the malware and develop detection tools and remediation techniques over the past several weeks. And our operation removed Russia's ability to control these firebox devices on the botnet network and then copied and removed malware from the infected devices. Now, I should caution that as we move forward, any firebox devices that acted as bots may still remain vulnerable in the future until mitigated by their owners.
Well, let's talk business now. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has imposed an 800 million naira fine on 3 deposit money banks in the country for violating regulations barring customers from transacting in cryptocurrencies. According to a Bloomberg report released on Wednesday, the 3 banks are Access Bank PLC, Stanbic IBTC, and the United Bank for Africa PLC. The report noted that the penalties were part of efforts by the Apex Bank to ensure that banks implement an order to block trading in cryptos due to the threat they pose to Nigeria's financial system. The directive was contained in a circular signed by the CBN in February 2021. In addition, the CBN had in November directed banks to close the account of 2 individuals in the company for allegedly trading in cryptocurrencies. In entertainment news now, Forbes says Barbadian singer Rihanna has officially joined the Billionaires Club with an estimated net worth of $1.7 billion, which also means that Rihanna has officially become the first billionaire from Barbados. Forbes' Madeline Burge attributed Rihanna's wealth not to her music output, but to her widely successful ventures into fashion and beauty brand Fenty. Rihanna was ranked number 1,729 on the list of 2,668 billionaires with a collective net worth of $12.7 trillion. That's according to Forbes in its new rankings. Now, other celebrities on the list include media mogul Oprah Winfrey and rapper Kanye West. Sports news now. Chelsea's hold on the Champions League hangs precariously after Karim Benzema's hat-trick put Real Madrid in the position of power following the quarter-final first leg at Stamford Bridge. Real coach Carlo Ancelotti made a winning return to the club where he won the Premier League and FA Cup double after veteran French striker Benzema delivered his latest masterclass. Benzema, 34 and fresh from the treble that swung Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16, punished holders Chelsea with two magnificent headers in the space of 3 minutes midway through the first half. Kai Havertz's header gave Chelsea hope before the break, but keeper Edward Mendy's poor clearance seconds after the restart gifted Benzema his third to put Real in command of the tie before the second leg at the Bernabeu next Tuesday. And sports news wraps it for us and the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching and stand by for Plus Sports.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
When I start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
date for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.